Part 74. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 731. After a Yang left, Zhang Chen and He Hongmei looked at Lu Ligan. Zhang Chen said, "Now you can tell me, why did you fight for love? What a good thing, you took it away." Lu Ligan laughed. "And I used it to make a packaging box." Packaging box? Zhang Chen and He Hongmei were confused. "Yes, the packaging box of the Westlake 10 treasures," Lu Li said proudly. "There are 4 boxes of the Westlake 10 treasures in one bag, isn't it cool enough?" He Hongmei couldn't help laughing. "Crazy, how much do you want to sell these 10 treasures of the Westlake?" 278, is it a good price? "I'll go, 4 boxes of Westlake 10 treasures, you want to sell them for 278, and you still pay a reasonable price," He Hongmei scolded. "Look, this lesbian is not objective when she talks. You want to sell an empty bag for 258 yuan. I added 4 boxes of Westlake 10 treasures, which only increased 20 yuan. Do you have a conscience or do I? You know, our 4 boxes of Westlake 10 treasures cost more than 100, Lu Ligan said. "Can these be the same? I am selling bags, and you are selling snacks. Can the price of bags and snacks be the same? What's the difference? Is this bag missing a corner or a piece of leather? It's still handmade and made of real materials." He Hongmei still wanted to refute, but found it difficult to refute Lu Ligan's words. 278, Bao had indeed not changed at all. Zhang Chen understood and said with a smile, "Don't argue with him, he is just selling bags." "Selling bags? You want Yiming Food Factory to sell bags?" He Hongmei's eyes widened. Lu Ligan smiled and said, "Zhang Chen's words are right, and your previous reaction is also right." "What's the right reaction?" He Hongmei wondered. "The first reaction," Lu Ligan said, "your first reaction is that this is a snack, but the price is a little more expensive. This reaction is correct. Little comrade, the Chinese New Year is almost here. Do you want to go to the leadership or to the brothers' units? Walk around?" "No," He Hongmei shook her head, "my superiors are my parents, my brother's unit is here, and I work here for free every day." "Oh, you dash!" Lu Ligan was stunned for a moment. Zhang Chen laughed, and He Hongmei looked at him, shaking her head proudly. Lu Ligan was discouraged. Okay, let's not compare you to this comrade. During the Chinese New Year, this comrade should go to Sanbao village and walk around, and the women's clothing department of Shanghai Mall should also go around and walk around. If he takes the bag, it is called bribery. The person giving it must be brave, and the person accepting it must also weigh it. But if you go there with such a bag of the 10 treasures of the Westlake, it will be completely different. No matter how expensive the pastries are, it is still a favor during the New Year and the holidays. Do you understand? That's not the same as accepting bribes," He Hongmei said. "People's psychology is different. People don't dare to accept gifts of money. You see, people don't just accept gifts of wine and cigarettes. Isn't it the same as giving a bag of snacks? The most important thing is that if you buy this in the mall, invoices can be issued and each unit's finances can be reimbursed." Lu Ligan said proudly. Zhang Chen looked at him and cursed, "Why don't you just be more cruel?" "I have thought about it. If I can move it, I would like to use the refrigerator as a packaging box for the Westlake 10 treasures," Lu Ligan said. At that time, there was indeed such a trend in society. Many units were racking their brains for promotion. The purpose was actually how to use public money to make small profits for themselves. There are many pharmaceutical factories. In order to attract hospitals and pharmaceutical companies to buy more medicines, they put the medicines in thermos flasks, rice cookers, and pressure cookers. When a hospital receives a batch of medicines, the first thing they do is to put the thermos flasks, rice cookers, and pressure cookers inside. Take it apart. Zhang Chen couldn't understand, so he asked, "What does this Ming food factory have to do with you now? Why do you want to help so much?" Lu Ligan asked back, "Then Wei Venfang and Wu Ziyawai have already left your company. What relationship do they have with you? Are you going to help them?" Zhang Chen was stunned for a moment, and Lu Ligan continued, "This Ming food factory has at least made me rich. I will treat it as repaying my gratitude. I will treat it as a Chinese New Year and let their workers go home with more bonuses. It makes sense. Well, what about you? Do you also repay the favor?" Zhang Chen was speechless. He Hongmei looked on from the side and shook her head. She felt that these two people were actually the same on this point, that is, they would do things that were unprofitable and even unfair. But she felt that this was good. If she wanted to make a profit in everything she did, she would be obsessed with money. She didn't like such a man. "But, who wants you to like me?" Well, at least, she didn't like working with such a man. Zhang Chen looked at the bag on the table and asked Lu Ligan, "If you kill it first and then show it, will Lao Fan agree?" "The mountain man has his own clever plan," Lu Ligan said. The big brother on Zhang Chen's desk rang loudly, and he picked up. It was Harada Shino. Harada Shino asked Zhang Chen, "Have the batch of clothes been ready?" Zhang Chen agreed, "Brothers Hina." Harada Shino told him to get ready, "The director and production director will be coming tomorrow." Zhang Chen said, "Okay, then come to our design center on Stadium Road." "Okay." Harada Shino said, "Okay, see you tomorrow, brother Zhang Chen." After putting down the phone, Zhang Chen and He Hongmei said that the Japanese are coming tomorrow, so please prepare. "It has been prepared for a long time," He Hongmei said, "all the clothes are in the design center. I will ask Ji Ling and the others to check them again." He Hongmei said and shook her head. Zhang Chen asked, "Why are you shaking your head?" "This Ji Ling, I'm a little afraid of her. Every time I look at some clothes, she will put forward a lot of opinions," He Hongmei said. "That's not bad. Others are embarrassed to mention it, right?" Zhang Chen said. Okay, He Hongmei sighed, "but her opinions are often very reasonable, you know? This will make your self-confidence collapse." Zhang Chen laughed, and Lu Ligan said, "Yes, that's right. It's like when I'm driving, Wu Ziyawai is next to me the most. He sees that whatever you do, it's not standard enough, making you feel like an idiot. Li damn it, I wanted to pull over to the side of the road and have a fight with him first." Zhang Chen and He Hongmei laughed, and He Hongmei said, "Okay, I'll fight Ji Ling too." When He Hongmei went out, Lu Ligan also picked up the cowhide bag on the table and said to Zhang Chen, "You are busy with your great cause of Sino-Japanese friendship. I'm going to Weihua Mountain to see Lao Fan." Lu Ligan carried the yellow leather bag and walked into Fan Kishun's office. The secretary and accountant were also here. When the secretary saw Lu Ligan, he shouted, "Hey, Mr. Lu, did you buy a new bag?" Lu Ligan was right. He put the bag on Fan Kishun's table and asked them, "Does it look good?" "It's nice. It looks very high-end." "It's expensive, right?" the secretary said. Fan Kishun also thought the bag was good. He stood up and the three of them looked at the bag together. Open it, open it. There is nothing inside." "Open it and take a good look," Lu Ligan said. Fan Kishun untied the belt of the bag and opened the bag. There was a satin lining inside. The accountant closed the bag with a bang and opened it again. He looked inside and pushed up the reading glasses on the bridge of his nose. Said, "This bag is quite practical. It's a bit like something from the old Changguang," the secretary said. Fan Kishun stared at the bag. He thought of something, raised his head and asked Lu Ligan, "Is this something from a Yang's house?" "Good vision," Lu Ligan shouted, "this was designed by Yang's grandfather." "Oh, the old man has come out," Fan Kishun was surprised. He said to the secretary and accountant, The old man has a stick. The old society's Chen Guang, those officials and big bosses in Hangzhou, all used it at home. These are leather goods made by an old man. How much? Fan Kishan asked Lu Ligan. Guess Lu Ligan said. $100 is always needed, the accountant said. Bullshit, 100 yuan, can you buy handmade goods for 100 yuan? At least more than 200 yuan, Fan Kishan said. It's almost the same, I think it's almost the same, the secretary said. My guess is correct, 278, Lu Ligan said. How about it, do you like it? The secretary teased him. Why, you want to give each of us one? You don't need me to deliver them. There will be plenty in the factory in the future, Lu Ligan said. The three people looked at him, wondering what he was talking about. Wait, I'll call a few more people. Lu Ligan walked out as he said this. He knew this, and it was difficult to talk to the three old brains. He walked to the supply and marketing department on the side and saw that the chief of the supply and marketing department and 4 or 5 supply and marketing staff were there. Let's go to Lao Fan's office and show you some good things. Those people stood up, and Lu Ligan said to one of them, go to the workshop and bring 4 boxes of the 10 treasures of the West Lake. The man went to the sports car room, and the other people followed Lu Ligan back to Fan Kishan's office. As soon as they came in, they were also attracted by the bag on Fan Kishan's desk. The supply and marketing section chief shouted. Director Fan, you have replaced your shotgun with a cannon. Are you using such a high-end bag? Fan Kishan scolded, how can I afford it? It belongs to the big boss. It belongs to everyone, it belongs to everyone, Lu Ligan said. How about we use this bag as the packaging bag for the West Lake 10 treasures? The others looked at him and laughed, thinking he was talking crazy. The salesman who went to pick up the 10 treasures of the West Lake came in with 4 boxes of the 10 treasures of the West Lake. Lu Ligan stretched out his hand and waved, and gave the 4 boxes to Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan opened a yellow cowhide bag and put 4 boxes of the 10 treasures of the West Lake in. It just happened that the mouth of the bag could be closed with a bang. Lu Ligan said to them, no kidding, that's it, 4 boxes of West Lake 10 treasures. We will put this pack in the mall and sell it for 278 yuan. Did you take the wrong medicine? Fan Kishan asked him. Don't be anxious, just listen to me and explain slowly, Lu Ligan said. Of course, this is not for sale now, but during the Spring Festival. During the Spring Festival, every unit must give gifts. Don't tell me that you won't give them away. Higher-end ones, like 2 bottles of Maotai, Sanbei, and 2 sticks of Zonghua cigarettes, are also required. 300, why can't you give us this extreme version of the 10 treasures of West Lake? Lu Ligan said, turning to the accountant, and the unit's accounting, West Lake 10 treasures is better than Maotai and Zonghua cigarettes, right? Then Maotai and Zonghua cigarettes are so sensitive, right? The accountant nodded. Okay, Mr. Lu, I think this is okay, the supply and marketing section chief shouted. After smoking the cigarettes, what else is left? After drinking the wine, what is left? We have eaten the pastries inside, and there are still such beautiful things. If you want a bag, I would rather have this. Are you just selling bags? Fan Kishan asked. Why are you selling bags? They are selling the top 10 treasures of the West Lake, Lu Ligan said with a smile. Lao Fan, please do the math. Our 4 boxes of West Lake 10 treasures cost more than 100 yuan. If you calculate it this way, this package costs more than 100 yuan. For those who buy it, do you think it is a good deal? For those who are given it as a gift, do you think it is a good deal? From a human perspective, a gift like this, given or not, is no more ugly than 2 strips of Chinese, right? And it's fresh, and everyone else gives cigarettes, but you're the only one giving this, isn't it impressive enough? Yes, Mr. Lu, this will definitely be easy to sell, A supply and salesman said. How much do you prepare for this? Another salesman asked. I want to make 10,000, Luligan said. 10,000 is not enough, said the head of the supply and marketing section. In this Chinese New Year, 10,000 is not enough. We have so many points, and I don't think it's enough for 1 point. You can make pastries in your workshop, but others can't make this bag, Luligan said. I'm talking about 10,000. I don't know if they can make it yet. In this way, if we can make 10,000, it only sells for 278. If we can't make it, we'll sell it a little more expensively. Besides, we can't sell more of this thing, and we can't sell it all over the streets, otherwise it won't be valuable. That's true, the supply and marketing section chief nodded in agreement. We sell this, firstly, to make money, and secondly, to expand our influence and improve our quality, Luligan said. How much do we pay for this bag? The accountant asked. 80. The accountant immediately calculated in his mind. If the retail price is 278, the mall will deduct 23%, leaving 214. One bag costs 80, and 4 boxes of Westlake 10 treasures cost 30. Enough money. If we make one piece, the gross profit will be 100 yuan. If it's 10,000 pieces, then the gross profit will be 1 million, the accountant was startled and asked. Yes, Lu Lizan nodded. Then have you ever calculated that just to get the package, we will have to pay 800,000 yuan, Fan Kishun scolded the accountant, and he said, I don't dare to do this business. If we make a loss, we will have done it for 3 or 4 months in vain. Lu Ligan had long thought that Fan Kishun would say this, so he took out his mountain man's trick and said to Fan Kishun. I know you, Lao Fan, are sure to take over me. Okay, it's the same as before. I'll pay for it first, and you'll give me the money after I sell it. Any inventory will be mine. Fan Kishun looked at him and smiled hee hee, and the others also laughed. Thank you Mr. Xiaoming and book friend 201909110917052447 for the reward. Thank you Ba Liang and Beiji for your monthly votes. Thank you for all the votes and reading. I wish everyone a good mood on Saturday. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 732. At about 11 o'clock in the evening, Ion called Lu Ligan and told him that many people were having a meeting at his house. Everyone figured it out, and if you hurry up, it would be fine. Quality must be guaranteed, Lu Ligan said. You are sure? We all know that it belongs to the old man. If it is not done well, the old man will lose his temper without you telling me. Lu Ligan said yes, then you can come over tomorrow morning to get the advance payment and order the materials immediately. Lu Ligan knew that a Yang had taken the money and had to distribute it immediately. Many transactions were in cash, and it was inconvenient to remit money back and forth. He and Fan Jiangguo simply went to the bank to withdraw cash. Lu Ligan gave his eldest brother to Fan. Jiangguo asked him to hold a Yang back. It was not safe on the road with so much money. After they withdrew the money, they sent it to him. Early in the morning, the bank refused to withdraw so much, so they went to 3 banks before withdrawing all 400,000 in cash and sending it to a Yang's house. Looking at so much cash, Fan Jiangguo cursed, Yangja is only 6, this time he got paid. He has already distributed it, didn't you know? He now delivers to Zhang Chen and the others, and can earn tens of thousands every month. I know, it's getting bigger this time. Everyone will get rich if they work hard. Don't worry, you will get rich too. Fan Jiangguo was still very contented. He smiled and said, hey, my current income is several times that of my classmates. At the last class reunion, I was the highest paid, but they all asked me to treat them. Did you invite me? Lu Ligan asked. Of course not. How can I kill plague pigs for them? If I have money, I won't go out to pick up girls. Lu Ligan shook his head. He told Fan Jiangguo that sometimes when his face is swollen, he still has to pretend to be fat. Do you understand? No, that's a loser, Fan Jiangguo said. Lu Ligan smiled secretly in his heart, you are damn honest. They sent the money to a Yang's house. On the way back, Lu Ligan asked Fan Jiangguo, do you know if there is any place that can be used as an office? Who is looking for an office? Fan Jiangguo asked. We. What kind of office do we want? It's enough for me alone in that office. This office is not a question of whether it is sufficient. It is the face of a company, understand, Lu Ligan said. When he was working on the Splendid Home project, he was already very familiar with Fan Qishun, and his son was here with him. He knew exactly what was going on in the company and couldn't pretend, so there was no need to have a decent office anyway. He went to Yiming Food Factory, and they would not come to his company. But it's different now. Now he's looking for a second project, and there will definitely be all kinds of people coming to the company. It's impossible for these people to come and check your account books to see if your company has the strength, but through you. Office to come and see your company, so Lu Ligan wanted to find a new place to start his Zhejiang Jinxiudadi Real Estate Co., Limited in a decent way. What are your requirements? Fan Jiangguo asked. It's best to be on the side of the road, with the door opening directly to the road. After decoration, you can see the inside from the outside. I know there is a place, just on Vensan Road, at Hangcheng Customs, Fan Jiangguo said. How to get there? Lu Ligan asked. Go through Moganshan Road, right at the junction of Moganshan Road and Vensan Road. The Hangcheng Customs building is located at the junction of Moganshan Road and Vensan Road. The building faces Moganshan Road, and the gate also opens to Moganshan Road. The place Fan Jiangguo is talking about is a two-story house on Vensan Road, next to the customs building. It is not the podium of the customs building. It should be part of the old customs house. Half of it was given to the new building, and this half. It was not demolished. After the building was built, the outer wall was connected to the building. Although this house is located in the courtyard of the Hangcheng Customs House, it is completely blocked from the Hangcheng Customs House. The door opens to Vensan Road and is reserved for renting out to earn some money for the coffers. This place used to be a hotel, but now the hotel has closed. On the glass at the entrance, there are big words store for rent. Below the big words there are small words and an arrow. The arrow points to the customs building next door. The small words read contact rent office on the third floor of the customs building. Lu Ligan parked the car at the entrance of the hotel, and the two of them got out of the car to take a look. The house had about 500 or 600 square meters upstairs and downstairs. The first floor of Cheoan Road 3 was full of floor-to-ceiling glass. What was inside everything was moved away, only the red words Vivid Seafood on the glass were still there, but they had also faded. The two of them took a look outside, and Lu Ligan thought it was suitable. They followed the arrow and went to the customs building next door and to the office on the third floor. There was a woman in her 40s sitting inside. When she heard that they were renting a house, she took out a bunch of keys from the drawer and said, "Let's go, come on, go down and take a look." You don't even ask them to sit down. That's right. Those who come to rent a house have to look at the house. Who wants to sit down? Lu Ligan and the others followed Sister Xie to the first floor again, walked out of the gate of the customs building, and turned to Vensan Road. After opening the door and going in, Sister Xie asked them, "What kind of food do you cook?" Lu Ligan was stunned for a moment and said, "We don't open a restaurant, we use it as an office." As an office? This time Sister Xie was stunned for a moment, and then said, "Yes, yes, anything can be done." Smuggling is also allowed, Fan Jiangguo joked. "Okay, it's convenient to pick it up from here to the front." "Why don't you thank you for bringing it to your door?" Sister Xie said, and the three of them laughed. The layout inside the house is very simple. The first floor is the hall, there is a kitchen, and a bathroom. Up the stairs, there is a rest area upstairs. There are 8 private rooms inside. The private rooms are very large, each with an area of nearly 30 square meters. Look. It looked like the original office of a hotel owner. They thought it would be too expensive to renovate it, so they didn't touch it. The 3 of them went upstairs to take a look. When they returned to the first floor, Luligan asked Sister Sia if she wanted to buy something here. Sister Sia looked at him, nodded, and said seriously, "Yes, you can sell it if the State Council approves." Luli laughed loudly, and Sister Sia couldn't hold it any longer. She laughed and cursed, "You have to buy the country's land with money, but you don't need the approval of the State Council." "Okay, you are great. How much will it cost to rent?" Luligan asked. 60,000, Sister Sia said. "For such a big place, 5,000 yuan a month is cheap enough, right?" "It's not cheap. The cheap ones have been rented out long ago," Fan Jiangguo said. "I pass by it every day and it has been empty for 2 or 3 months. Sister Sia rolled her eyes at him and blushed slightly. "Well, seeing as you are working in an office, I think it will be cheaper for you, 59,000. Luligan said, "Sister, if I return it again, do you want to say 59,088? "Yes, how do you know?" Luligan suddenly thought of Yilin, whom they met when they first arrived in Haikan to rent a house. "It's not like you're buying vegetables at a farmer's market. How can you bargain like this?" Fan Jiangguo scolded. "What's the matter? 100 yuan is not money," Sister Sia said plausibly. Luligan was too lazy to worry about this. He asked, "I want to build another staircase from the outside to the second floor. Can that be done?" Sister Sia pointed to the stairs they just came down and said, "There is no stairs there." "I mean to build another one from the outside," Luligan said. "Why do you need so many stairs? Are you really smuggling?" "I'm planning to use the upstairs dormitory as a dormitory, sister. You can't leave this dormitory from the office." Sister Sia thought for a moment and said, "Come on. Take them out and continue walking to Venson Road. At the end of the house, there is an alley. Turn right and follow the wall of the house to the end. There is a row of iron gates. Inside the iron gate is the customs office. In the backyard," Sister Sia said, "can I open a door and go up here?" Luligan nodded and said yes. The 3 of them walked out of the alley. Luligan and Fan Jiangguo said, "Follow the eldest sister and wait for me in the office." He turned to the right and continued walking towards Venson Road. Fan Jiangguo shouted, "What are you going to do?" "I'll go to the bank in front to withdraw money." Sister Sia was delighted when she heard this and shouted, "Then the house has been decided." Luli waved his hand without looking back. "It's settled." "How much is the rent?" Sister Sia asked. "You are so talented, I can do as much as you want," Luligan said. Luligan walked into Zhang Chen's office, pulled him up and left. Zhang Chen shouted, "What are you doing?" "Go and see my office," Luligan said. "What office? I have something to do here." "You're fine now. The Japanese came in the afternoon and I met a Sichuan girl," Luligan said. "I just rented an office and I need to renovate it urgently. Let's take a walk." Zhang Chen broke away from Luligan's hand. Luligan wanted to grab him, but Zhang Chen said, "I'll get the sketchbook." They arrived at Venson Road again. Luligan and Zhang Chen said that the side facing the road was all glass, and the decoration style was such that it would blind people's eyes at a glance. "This company is so awesome. Just this feeling, when you pass by the store or take a bus, your eyes will light up. You are made of glass, and if you want your eyes to be bright, the other half depends on interior decoration and furniture," Zhang Chen said. "Yes, including people." Luligan turned around and said to Fan Jiangguo, "From now on, you will have to wear suits when you go to work, and you can't stagger around when you sit there. You will be seen outside. Isn't that the same as in the shopping mall window? Fan Jiangguo asked. Yes, that's how it feels. I'll recruit 2 more beautiful girls for you. Can you flirt with them every day? Fan Jiangguo glanced at Lu Ligan and didn't know what he was talking about. Really, if you have the ability, just make them laugh every day, so that people walking around here will say, wow, the girls in this company are so beautiful, the people in this company are so happy to work, and everyone thinks of us. Come to work here. Fan Jiangguo smiled happily and said, I can do this. I know you will. Lu Ligan said to Zhang Chen again, replace all the glass here. What are you doing? Isn't this glass good? Zhang Chen asked. Old. Just clean it and it'll be fine. Can the old glass be the same as the new glass? Can the old glass be washed out of the new glass's bright and bluish feeling? Zhang Chen knows what Lu Ligan wants to feel. It's not just that he's shiny. The whole company looks shiny. Just change it. You have money anyway. Walking to the second floor, Lu Ligan and Zhang Chen said that the middle partition here on the second floor and the 4 private rooms over there have been converted into dormitories. From the stairs outside, here, the rest area has been converted into a reception area. A private room is connected, which is my office. Here, there is a financial room, and there is another one, which is not used for the time being and should be left empty. It can be used as a conference room, Zhang Chen said. No, you don't know that I hate meetings the most. I have a small conference table in my office. If you have anything to do, you can just talk there, Lu Ligan said. Thank you Zibei Kangsheng Edison and Lao Chen Tang for your monthly votes. Thank you for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 733. In the afternoon, Harada Shino came with 4 or 5 Japanese people. They went to the design center and looked at all the clothes. They were very satisfied. The director said a few words to Harada Shino. Harada Shino asked Zhang Chen. The director said, the clothes were so well made, he wanted to know if the workers who made them were there. Zhang Chen looked at He Hongmei. He Hongmei said that there were a few workers here, and I was worried that there would be some rework, so she asked them to come to the factory. Harada Shino asked if he could invite them up. The director wanted to take a photo with them. He Hongmei said yes, and she asked Ji Ling to go down and ask them to come up. They came up, and the director invited them to take a group photo together in front of the clothed mannequin. Some of them said that they didn't even change their clothes today, so the photo didn't look good. Shino Harada walked up to them, put his hands together and bowed, and told them that it didn't matter, they were just taking a photo together, so please take care of them. They were pushing and shoving, laughing and looking at Zhang Chen together. Zhang Chen said, let's take a photo together and keep it as a souvenir. These are the clothes you made. You can see them in the movie in the future. This one is from the movie. Director, when you watch movies from now on, you will know that the movies were made by the people who took the photos with you. They just passed by. The director called Zhang Chen, He Hongmei, and Ji Ling to come over. They took a group photo together first, and then took a group photo with everyone in different costumes. It was obvious that he was very happy today. Shino Harada and Zhang Chen said that what the director was most worried about was the costumes. He was afraid that he would not be able to find people to sew them by hand. But now that they have been made and done so well, he feels that these craftsmen are amazing. After reading, the group said goodbye and left. Harada Shino asked Zhang Chen to pack all the clothes in boxes and send them to them tomorrow, saying that trucks would deliver them to the location. Zhang Chen said yes. The next day, He Hongmei and Lao Wan went to deliver the goods together. When they came back, she walked into Zhang Chen's office and said to Zhang Chen, "Look, what is this?" Zhang Chen saw a knife of yen dangling in her hand. Zhang Chen asked, "What's going on?" "This is in addition to the contract. Your Shino-chan has already remitted the contract amount. This is what the director asked me to distribute to the workers who make the clothes." Zhang Chen said, "Yes, then you ask Zhao Jingjing to give each of them a bonus of 200 in addition to salary." He Hongmei raised her thumbs and walked out. Xiao Wu was sitting alone upstairs in the Jinhua Tonggu pot. He drank 2 bottles of beer. Even his fingers were red from drinking and he was sweating profusely. He stood up, walked to the window, and pushed the window open. Come on, it was already dark outside. He looked downstairs alertly. There was no suspicious person, then he stood up and walked downstairs. Xiao Wu walked out of the store, looked both ways, and then got on his bicycle. When he arrived at the door of the police station, he turned the front of the car and turned in. He threw the bicycle in the yard of the police station without locking it, and left. After entering, the police officer on duty saw Xiao Wu and shouted, "Xiao Wu, why are you here?" Xiao Wu waved his hand and walked in. He saw that the innermost door of the corridor was open, and the light from the door poured out, making that corridor brighter than other places. Xiao Wu walked over and walked to looking inside the door. Lao Tai from the police station was sitting there, and Xiao Wu walked in. Lao Tai also saw Xiao Wu and shouted, "Hey Xiao Wu, come in, it's so rare, sit down quickly." Xiao Wu sat down on the wicker chair in front of the table opposite. Lao Tai looked at him and asked strangely, "What, are you drinking?" "Drink?" Xiao Wu nodded. "You don't drink, don't you?" Feeling terrible. Lao Tai originally had a pen in his hand and was writing something. When Xiao Wu said this, he put down his pen, looked at Xiao Wu, and asked, "What's wrong?" "Can I ask you a question, Lao Tai?" Xiao Wu said. "Okay, you say." "Can you arrest me and put me in a detention center?" Lao Tai laughed loudly, "You are crazy, and you have not committed any crime. How can we lock you up? I don't run the police station. I lock up whoever I say. Even if I opened it, I won't lock you up for no reason. Lock you up. Then what if I give myself a knife? I'm not talking about outside. I'd definitely cut him in vain outside. What I mean is, if I go to your police station and give myself a knife, will I be locked up? No, you were hurting yourself. We will send you to the hospital." Xiao Wu sighed and said, "What if I give you a knife?" "Yes, then it's not a detention center, but a detention center, for more than 5 years," Lao Tai said with a smile. Xiao Wu shook his head, "That's not worth it. You have to go to jail. I have no enmity with you, and I can't cut off my hand." Forget it, forget it." Lao Tai stood up, poured a glass of water for Xiao Wu, walked over and put it in front of him. Xiao Wu picked it up, took a sip, and said to him, "Thank you, Lao Tai." Lao Tai walked back to his seat, sat down, and asked Xiao Wu, "How much did you drink today?" Xiao Wu raised 2 fingers, 2 bottles. "Liquor. Beer. You drank 2 bottles of beer and you are like this, talking incoherently," Lao Tai said with a smile. Xiao Wu waved his hand and patted his chest again, "I'm not drunk, old iron. I'm just sad. It's sad here. I've never been so sad in my life. Tell me, why are you sad? I just want you to lock me up, but you refuse to lock me up. Is it fun in the detention center? Okay, why did you think of the detention center? It's quiet in the detention center. No one is looking for me. Now I'm outside, like a thief, hiding everywhere. I don't dare to go back to sleep at night. Who is looking for you? In Yongcheng, besides our police station looking for you, who else has the courage to look for you? I'm not afraid if you come looking for me. I'll come here myself. I'm afraid they'll come looking for me. I have no choice but to hide. Who is it? My uncle, several of my cousins, and these little bastard brothers. Why is your uncle looking for you? Let me go find Xiao Jin. What are you looking for Xiao Jin for? Stand up for my bastard cousin. It turns out that Xiao Wu's cousin went to Yongchen Middle School. This guy didn't study well and got into trouble with a lot of people in the school. He called himself the 13 Taibao and made trouble all day long. There was a commotion outside the school. The electronic game arcade opposite the gate of Yongchen Middle School was owned by Xiao Jin and his friends. This cousin always went to make trouble with the 13 Taibao. The boss came to see Xiao Jin, and Xiao Jin went there. The cousin saw the boss when he came in with Xiao Jin. He laughed and said, "Who did I think you were looking for?" It turned out to be him. "I'm so scared," my cousin yelled, patting his chest. Xiao Jin walked over and told his cousin, "Go out and don't make trouble here." The cousin looked at Xiao Jin and said loudly, "What are you talking about? Are you talking to me? Louder, I can't hear you clearly." "I told you to get out," Xiao Jin cursed. "What, you dare to tell me to get lost?" My cousin said to his group of Taibos. "Do you know who this person is? This is my cousin's horseboy, and he actually dares to ask me to get lost." Hearing what he said, Xiao Jin was of course very angry, so he told his cousin, "You know this is our territory, but you still come here to make trouble. Well, I will take care of you for your brother." Xiao Jin was about to take him out, and a quarrel broke out between the two sides. The Taibos gathered around him, and Xiao Jin knocked one over with a punch. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw someone rushing towards him with a stool, and kicked the person. Fei, the one who was kicked away, was Xiao Wu's cousin. The 13 eunuchs were actually cowards. They dared to take action when they saw two people fell. Xiao Wu's cousin felt that he was humiliated by this, so he lay on the ground and did not dare to get up, pretending he was knocked unconscious. The other Taibao escaped back to school and went to call the teacher. The teacher came over and saw that it was okay, but everyone fainted. The teacher's face turned pale with fright. He called an ambulance to take him to the hospital and called his parents. Xiao Jin left there and saw his cousin being taken away by an ambulance. He panicked and thought he was really knocked unconscious. He quickly detained Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu rushed to the hospital and saw his cousin lying on the hospital bed, screaming "Oh oh oh oh," and when he saw Xiao Wu, he screamed even more miserably. The doctor knew Xiao Wu. He dragged Xiao Wu aside and told him with a smile that it was okay. Xiao Wu was so angry that he wanted to walk back to the ward, slap his cousin twice, and tell him to go back to school immediately. The uncle's home is on the outskirts of Yongcheng. He rushed over after receiving the call and arrived just in time. Uncle Xiao Wu is a scoundrel in the village. When he came here, he heard that his son had been beaten, and Xiao Wu was here again. No matter how willing he was, Xiao Wu must go find the person who beat him, ask him to pay compensation, and make him kneel down. Apologizing in front of his son's bedside, the cousin told his father that the person who beat him was following brother Xiao Wu. This made the uncle even more angry. He pointed at Xiao Wu and cursed, saying, "I don't care how many brothers you have outside, this one is beaten. He is your real brother. If you don't have an explanation for this matter, don't recognize me as your uncle." Xiao Wu's uncle used the excuse to follow Xiao Wu back to the room and said he couldn't go back. "I will live with you from today on. I will go back when you find that person." The uncle refused to leave, so Xiao Wu had no choice but to leave by himself, and would not go back after leaving. When the uncle saw that he would not go back, he called his two other cousins and a cousin over, together with the 13 Taibao, looking for Xiao Wu everywhere. When they saw Xiao Wu, his cousin and cousin hugged him and refused to let him go. The others quickly ran to Xiao Wu's room and called him uncle. Xiao Wu asked Xiao Jin to escape and go back to his hometown in the countryside first. As for him, he couldn't go back to his room, and he didn't dare to go back to his hometown. As an uncle, if he knew that he was coming home, he would definitely come to his house. He refused to leave again. They were looking for him everywhere. Xiao Wu didn't dare to show his face even on the streets of Yongcheng. He didn't dare to sleep at a friend's house. If his uncle found out that he was at a friend's house, he would definitely go there and stay at that friend's house. If you don't leave, you still have to serve me with tobacco, wine, tea, and food. His uncle can do it, he is such a scoundrel. It had been more than a week, and Xiao Wu really had no choice. He thought, could Lao Tai help me and just detain him? When his uncle heard that he was detained, he would probably go back, so he couldn't follow him. Come to detention center. Lao Tai didn't know whether to laugh or cry after hearing what Xiao Wu said. He said, Xiao Wu, I really can't help with this matter. We can't control your uncle in your room. If you want to be detained, I don't have the right either. Xiao Wu kept shaking his head. He stood up, staggered to the sofa, and said to Lao Tai, you must think of a way today. I beg you to detain me. If you can't think of a way, then I don't care. I won't leave here. I will detain myself in your office, okay? Lao Tai scolded, okay, Xiao Wu, are you coming to my place to learn from your uncle? Xiao Wu fell down over there and was already fast asleep. It seemed that he hadn't had a good night's sleep in too many days. Lao Tai stood up and walked over to see Xiao Wu sleeping soundly. Lao Tai shook his head. It was getting cold now. Lao Tai took out a piece of clothing from the cabinet and covered Xiao Wu with it. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 734. Lao Tai walked outside to the duty hall. There was no police situation. 4 or 5 policemen on duty were sitting or standing chatting there. The policeman on duty saw Lao Tai coming out alone and said strangely, Boss, where is Xiao Wu? I saw Xiao Wu going to your place earlier. Lao Tai said angrily, yes, at my place, he detained himself there. Everyone looked at Lao Tai, wondering what he was talking about. Lao Tai told everyone why Xiao Wu came and what he said to him, and everyone burst into laughter. Someone shouted, Boss, you are an old revolutionary who has encountered new problems. Lao Tai also laughed. He said, I have been a policeman for so many years, but I have never seen someone come to me and beg me to detain him. After laughing, he looked at them and cursed, you are still laughing, why don't you help me think of a solution, or else, will you let him detain you in my office all the time? It's difficult to handle. I have a headache. This uncle is staying at his nephew's house and refuses to leave. Not to mention our police, not even the emperor can take care of it, someone said. You all are so arrogant that you can't get that uncle away. Think of a way to get him away from me, Lao Tai said. It's hard to handle, boss. You also said that we can't detain him. He's not too drunk. If he is, we can help him get a hospital to hang up the hanging needle, someone said. Lao Tai scratched his head. He also felt that this matter was really worrying. Boss, either you give us special permission to go to him for a drink, and the restaurant will reimburse him, and we guarantee to make him drunk, someone shouted. Yes, that's a good move, someone immediately responded. Okay, you go and drink. You don't need to be reimbursed by the hospital. I will reimburse you myself. After drinking, Xiao Wu goes to the hospital and I will send you to solitary confinement, Lao Tai glared at them. Either ask their group to come and take the people back, someone said. Someone immediately objected, there are still people in the Wu opera troupe now. There are people. That uncle is in the troupe. How could Xiao Wu go back? Even if he went out and came back, he would not go to the boss's office to self-detain himself. That's right, their regimental leader doesn't know whether Xiao Wu listens to him or he listens to Xiao Wu, and there's no way he can be persuaded to leave, someone said. By the way, boss, Xiao Wu listens to one person the most. As long as she comes, she will definitely persuade Xiao Wu to leave your place, someone shouted. Who? Lao Tai asked. Tan Shahen, that Miss Yang Cheng. It's so late at night, where can I go to find someone? She sings every night in the dance hall above the cultural center. If you go there now, you can definitely find her. Lao Tai looked at the person who spoke and cursed, do you, kid, go there often and know it so well? The man chuckled, when I'm not at work, I just go listen to music. Then why don't you go quickly and help me invite people over? Lao Tai scolded. It's your order. The man put his feet together and ran out, and then the sound of 3 wheels churning could be heard outside. The churning sound completely disappeared in the night sky of Yangcheng. After more than 10 minutes, it sounded again, getting closer and closer. Lao Tai and the people in the hall all walked to the door and saw Tan Shahen coming from the side of the 3-wheeler. Get out of the truck. In a small county town with a small immigrant population at that time, Tan Shahen was a local celebrity, and Chang Tai from the police station was also a local celebrity. These two local celebrities usually interacted in various activities and knew each other. Tan Shahen watched when Lao Tai stood at the door. He asked as he walked. Director, what's going on? The two of them stood at the door and started chatting. Lao Tai talked about Xiao Wu's uncle, and Tan Shahen said, I know that scoundrel. The whole Wu opera troupe fell out with him. What, he caused trouble in the Wu opera troupe? That's easy to handle, then we can go and bring him back, someone nearby shouted immediately. Where? He took several of his children there, ate and slept, ate all the food tickets in Xiao Wu's room, and then went to the cafeteria to get credit, saying that he would pay after Xiao Wu came back. The chef in the cafeteria saw because he disliked this person, he refused to give credit. He told him that the canteen would not give credit, even if Xiao Wu himself came. He had no choice, so he went upstairs and downstairs to borrow meal tickets from the whole group. Seeing that he was such an old man and was Xiao Wu's uncle, he lent them to him. How much he borrowed, that meal would definitely be after the meal stamps were used up. Our teacher Li thought that this was not an option, as this person would continue to rely on them, so he told everyone that if he came to borrow them again, they all said that the meal stamps were gone after the meal stamps were used up. If you can't borrow meal tickets, everyone thinks, you won't starve to death in your room, you have to leave. He didn't, so he still slept. As you know, the people in our group are cooking in the corridor. As soon as he heard the sound of pots outside, he walked out and stood next to people to strike up a conversation. After all, he is Xiao Wu's uncle. When he wants to talk to someone, they are too embarrassed to ignore him. He just keeps standing and talking to you. When you finish cooking the dishes and bring them to the table in the room, he will follow. He praises others for making this dish well and that dish well, and also asks, I see your dish is not too salty with the addition of salt and soy sauce. There is always that person who is thin-skinned and will be polite and say, do you want to try it? He took the chopsticks, tasted it and said, it's not salty. It's really not salty at all. Your craftsmanship is great. He took it, he pointed to the dish on the side with his chopsticks and asked, can I try this too? What can I say? Of course, I mean you've tasted it, so you're welcome. After saying that, he walked out to the corridor and called out, and his children came running over. He told them that this uncle wants to treat you to dinner, so don't be polite and thank him quickly. Those kids just called me thank you, uncle. What else could they do? I felt bitter, but I could only continue to say don't be polite. They were really rude. They found bowls and chopsticks to eat the food themselves. They ate up all the food without even taking a bite. As a result, now in the troupe, No one dares to cook in the corridor outside. They have moved the briquette stove and kerosene stove into the room, and the door is closed for cooking. When someone knocks on the door while cooking, they dare not open the door. I am afraid that this living treasure is standing at the door. When Tan Shahen said this, everyone burst into laughter. Lao Tai teased the policeman who said he could go and bring the person back, and told him, "Go ahead, go and handcuff the person back." The man chuckled. It turned out that it was really difficult to handle a falling out like this. It was not something that we police could handle. Lao Tai and Tan Shahen talked about Xiao Wu's visit tonight. Lao Tai said, "Xiao Tan, please help me. Staying in my office is not an option. My office is not convenient for everyone. Place." Tan Shahen nodded. She said, "I understand, Director." Tan Shahen followed Lao Tai and walked into his office. Xiao Wu was still sleeping soundly on the sofa. Tan Shahen pushed him. Xiao Wu opened his eyes and saw that it was Tan Shahen. He quickly sat up. Xiao Wu asked, "Sister Shahen, why are you here?" "You asked me, you and sister, why are you here?" "I'm looking for Lao Tai." Xiao Wu pointed to Lao Tai behind Tan Shahen. "Why are you looking for the director?" Xiao Wu sighed, "I asked him to detain me." "Are you the director or is he the director? If you ask him to detain you, he will detain you." "Xiao Wu, the sister asked you to beat me, will you beat me?" "Why should I hit you?" "Then why did they detain you? Did you fight, rob, or steal?" "If he doesn't detain me, I won't detain him. I'll detain myself here. Isn't that okay?" "No, how can you detain yourself? Sleeping on the sofa like this? This is the director's office, where you sleep. While you are here, does the director still need to work and handle police duties? He's busy with his business, and I won't disturb him. You are just disturbing others in this office. This is the director's office. There are so many documents, files, and important things. Any outsider can stay there? If you are here, the director can't go out, can't even use the toilet." Xiao Wu was speechless. "Get up quickly and follow sister." "Where to go?" "Go home." When Xiao Wu heard this, he panicked and kept shaking his head. "If I don't go, I won't go. Once I go back, I won't be able to get out." Coward Tan Shahen burst into laughter. "I didn't know that you, Xiao Wu, are so afraid of others. You don't know, Sister Shahen, they are very annoying. They just hold me like that and call me brother, brother. I can't hit me, I can't scold, I can't walk, and I can't leave. When I go to the toilet, there are two people there. Follow me. I told them that day to go shopping at the store below. They followed me down and I told them to pick out the popsicles in the freezer. I ran away when they went to pick out the popsicles." Tan Shahen and Lao Tai both laughed when they heard what Xiao Wu said. Xiao Wu said, "Really, if I go back again, my uncle will probably have to follow me when I go to the toilet." Tan Shahen remembered and asked, "Did you go to my office that day to avoid them?" Xiao Wu nodded, "I escaped that day. They saw me at the farmer's market, so I had to escape to your bank across the street." Tan Shahen smiled, stretched out her hand and pulled the clothes on Xiao Wu's shoulders, and told him, "Let's go. If you don't go, I won't go back." Xiao Wu shook his head. "Come back with me to your sister's house," Tan Shahen said. "Isn't it said that the most dangerous place is the safest? Your uncle would never have thought that if you escaped from the Wu opera troupe, you would go to the Yu opera troupe inside." "Yes, yes, Xiao Tan is right," Lao Tai said quickly. Xiao Wu then stood up, and the three of them walked out. When they walked into the hall, Xiao Wu waved goodbye to the smiling policeman. Someone shouted, "Xiao Wu, come back when you have time." Lao Tai waved his hand and slapped him in the face. The man avoided it and the others laughed. Xiao Wu rode his bicycle and took Tan Shahen with him. looking around with vigilance. When they were approaching the foot of the Wu opera troupe, Xiao Wu and Tan Shahen said, "Sister Shahen, look behind you and shout if someone comes over." Tan Shahen nodded. Xiao Wu pedaled the bicycle fiercely, and with all his strength, he led Tan Shahen to the top of such a long uphill slope. Tan Shahen was worried that the bicycle chain would break at any time. Feng Logui heard Tan Shahen's voice outside. She seemed to be talking to someone. Feng Logui was confused and turned on the light switch in the corridor. Then he opened the door and saw Xiao Wu and Tan Shahen coming together. Feng Logui shouted, "Xiao Wu, I've been looking for you everywhere these days. Where have you been? When did you get your precious uncle away?" Tan Shahen quickly winked at Feng Logui, and Feng Logui shut up. Tan Shahen opened the door opposite and told Xiao Wu, "You can sleep on this sofa tonight. Don't worry, they won't come here." "Thank you, Sister Shahen," Xiao Wu said. "Lao Gui, get a clean towel and your clothes and pants, and let Xiao Wu take a bath first." Feng Logui responded with "Oh oh oh." Tan Shahen turned to Xiao Wu and said, "I'll prepare hot water for you." "No need for hot water, just wash it like this," Xiao Wu said. "There are 2 shower faucets on the trough of the toilet at the end of the corridor. The faucets are gone and only 2 bent water pipes are left. Everyone takes a bath there, just like this in summer, and in winter with a wash basin and a few hot water bottles. Put the boiling water in, and put the cold water in the boiling water to wash. Thanks to Brokeback Mountain, Dal Tin Soldier, and the 3rd ranked one from top to bottom for the reward. Thank you Beiji and Mr. Hahao for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Happy Sunday everyone." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 735. In the dead of night, Tan Shahen and Feng Logui were sitting on the bed, talking quietly. Tan Shahen said, "No, no, Xiao Wu's uncle must be driven away. Who says it's not the case? The whole group is in a mess now. Everyone is so annoyed. They all come to complain to me, saying how can they stand cooking in the room." Feng Logui said, "But what can I do? I can't say that if you call a few people, lift them up and throw them out, even if you throw them out, they will come back when they get up. I have never seen such a shameless person." Tan Shahen thought for a while and said, "I have a way, and you will just cooperate with me when the time comes." Tan Shahen said this, and Feng Logui kept nodding and saying okay. "Okay, go to sleep and recharge your batteries." Feng Logui originally wanted to do something, but after hearing what Tan Shahen said, he had to give up. He is becoming more and more fond of doing something, and Tan Shahen is becoming more and more easygoing. Before Tan Shahen went out the next day, she told Xiao Wu to have a good rest here and that Lao Gui would come back to cook at noon. Xiao Wu said yes. Tan Shahen arrived at the bank and finished all the things she should do today. It was almost 10 o'clock. Tan Shahen walked next door and told President Mao, "President, I want to take leave for a few hours." Manager Mao looked at her and laughed, "You have to ask for leave these few hours. Who doesn't go out for a few hours one day?" After thinking about it, this Tan Shahen really didn't. She seemed to be in the office every day, and after finishing what she had to do, she read a book. She never seemed to go out for shopping, or even to the farmer's market opposite. "Don't talk to me about this situation in the future. It makes me feel like a nanny," President Mao said with a smile. When Tan Shahen reached the bottom of Jiaofang, she felt that her scalp was tight. She looked towards the semicircular steep slope. She had sworn that she would never go up there again in her life. It seemed that she was going to break her promise today. She couldn't go up. Humans are such a strange animal. If you resist something in your heart for a long time and it becomes a habit, then when you come into contact with it again, your psychological reaction will have transformed into your physiological reaction without even realizing it. Just like a person who has been eating a large bowl of fish and meat for decades and has been fasting and chanting Buddha for a long time. If you put a bowl of meat in front of him, it will not arouse his taste buds. Instead, it will make him feel nauseous and make him vomit, or even cause him to convulse his whole body subconsciously. Tan Shahen walked up the slope, feeling her heartbeat speeding up. Halfway through, she had to stop, take a breath, look at the huge canopy of the camphor tree above her head, take a deep breath, and then continue walking up. Tan Shahen walked into the building of the Wu Opera Troupe, walked to the stairs on the first floor, turned left to the end, and found Feng Logui's office. There were many figures moving inside. Tan Shahen heard several people calling Zhen Zhen softly. Tan Shahen was probably because she had just come in from the sun outside, her eyes were dazzled, and she felt her throat was tight. She nodded casually, turned around and came out of the corridor. When she got to the first floor, she stood and took a deep breath before she calmed down. She began to think in her heart, Shrew, Shrew, you are very unhappy now. You came back from outside, sleepy and tired. When you come home, look, a bunch of strangers came to the house and made the house a mess. These scoundrels, you, get out of here. Tan Shahen kept giving hints to herself in her mind. Her face became more and more gloomy, and the solace of her feet seemed to be getting heavier. She walked thumpingly. She walked to Xiao's door, took out the key, opened the door, and lay on the bed inside. With 4 or 5 people behind her, Tan Shahen exclaimed, "Ah," and shouted sharply. "Who are you?" The people inside the door were also startled. They heard the key on the door turning and thought it was Xiao Wu who had come back. Unexpectedly, the door opened and it was a beautiful woman. Especially Xiao Wu's eldest cousin, who squeezed into the audience and watched the beauty pageant in Yongcheng. Tan Shahen was deeply imprinted in his young and turbulent heart. She was lying on the bed in the dormitory in the dark, her hands and feet he moved around and didn't know how long he held Tan Shahen in his arms and kissed her thousands of times. For an adolescent boy, a mature beauty like Tan Shahen has irresistible temptation and intimidation. Although the light at the door is dim, he can still see it at a glance and screams in his heart, "It's her, it's her." Couldn't help but panic for a while, he stood up and subconsciously buttoned the clothes that were originally open. The other people in the room also sat upright. Tan Shahen frowned and spat softly, "What's the smell? It's so smelly." Regardless of age, it is always a bit embarrassing to be treated so frivolously by a beautiful woman. Tan Shahen walked in and walked to the window. She opened the curtains with a bang and opened the 2 windows with a bang. She pushed it out, pushed it too hard, and one of the windows hit the wall on the side and bounced back. Tan Shahen slapped her again angrily, and the window finally opened. Tan Shahen turned around, and those 2 eyes were like 2 knives, cutting across every face coldly, making them feel the sting on their faces and shudder. "Say, who are you?" Tan Shahen shouted sternly. The eldest cousin stammered, we, I, we. "Ah," Tan Shahen screamed hysterically. She saw half a plate of cigarette butts on a plate on the table, and shouted loudly, "I don't know what I hate the most is the smell of cigarettes in the room. Didn't Xiao Wu tell you?" Tan Shahen rushed over, grabbed the plate of cigarette butts, and drew an arc in the air. Some cigarette butts fell out and fell on the uncle sitting on the bed. The plate flew out of the open window with a pop sound. The ground in front of the practice room was shattered. Tan Shahen saw the cigarette ashes on the floor and bed, and was so angry that she trembled all over. "Get up! Get up!" Tan Shahen shouted sternly. The few people had just stood up, and before they could stand still, Tan Shahen pulled the sheets off the bed with a strong pull and threw them to the ground. She almost cried with anger and her face turned red. The uncle and cousins were standing there. Although the sheets on the bed had been taken away and there was a thin quilt underneath, who dared to sit on them? "Who are you? Why did Xiao Wu bring everyone back?" Let me see if you dare to come back today. Even a fool could see the relationship between Tan Shahen and Xiao Wu, so the uncle quickly told the younger ones to call them sister-in-law. As soon as the little one said the word big, Tan Shahen waved her finger. Shut up. Who is your sister-in-law? Who are you? It was finally the uncle's turn to speak. He said, girl, are you Xiao Wu's partner? I am Xiao's uncle. Uncle? Xiao also has an uncle? Isn't he just an uncle in Sukao? I've seen him before. Where are you from, uncle? I'm from Changguan. It's from Changguan. It's so close. Why haven't you heard from Xiao Wu? The uncle couldn't say that because he was a rogue, his relatives were estranged from him and were reluctant to mention him. He could only say, maybe he forgot. A distant relative or a cousin, Tan Shahen asked. No, it's a kiss. What about you? Who are you? Tan Shahen stared at her eldest cousin. I am brother Xiao Wu's cousin. The eldest cousin glanced at Tan Shahen, felt a little discouraged, and quickly looked away. What about you? His cold eyes and words pierced his second cousin. Me too, the second cousin muttered. Tan Shahen looked at her third cousin, and before she asked, the other party said, me too. So many? Huh, supernatural ones, Tan Shahen asked. Before Tan Shahen could look at her, her cousin said timidly, I am my cousin, big. Finally, I swallowed the word sister-in-law. Tan Shahen sat down on the stool, folded her left foot on her right foot, folded her hands on her thighs, and did not ask those people to sit down. She calmed down a little and continued to question, how did you get in? Who brought you entering the room? Xiao Wu brought us here. Where's Xiao Wu? Have you gone out to buy groceries? I just came back from a business trip. I'm exhausted. I'm too lazy to care who you are. Let me make it clear to you first. Even if my mother comes, don't expect me to cook for her. Xiao Wu, come back and let Xiao Wu cook it for you to eat. Brother Xiao Wu has been out for several days, the eldest cousin said. You've been out for several days, so what are you doing here? Tan Shahen asked curiously. We are waiting for brother Xiao Wu to come back. Why are you waiting for him? Tan Shahen raised her eyebrows, and her cousin became timid again. His brother was beaten, the uncle said. Who, you? Were you beaten? Tan Shahen asked. The cousin nodded. Then fight back, Tan Shahen shouted, how can you take advantage of this loss? Yes, we are just waiting for Xiao Wu to find that person and fight him back. The uncle felt that this woman was fierce, and she seemed to understand the truth. She was worthy of being Xiao Wu's girlfriend, and she was not willing to suffer any losses. The uncle finally laughed. Wait, what do you mean? Tan Shahen frowned, and the uncle's smile froze. You were beaten. You have hands and feet. You don't have the ability to fight back, right? Tan Shahen looked at her cousin and asked. The cousin stood there, not knowing whether to say yes or no. He just felt that he was being beaten by his goddess. It's so shameless to look down upon someone like that. You are his father, you have hands and feet, and you don't have the ability to fight back, right? Tan Shahen asked the uncle, who smiled awkwardly. Tan Shahen snorted, I understand, you are here waiting for Xiao Wu, and let Xiao Wu help you beat people, right? Those people looked at me and I looked at you, but no one answered. In the end, the cousin nodded. Tan Shahen slapped the table, and her cousins were all startled. Tan Shahen cursed, don't you want to go to jail if you hit someone? Don't you want to go to the hospital if you hurt someone? Come on, get it quickly. Tan Shahen stretched out her hand towards the uncle. What? The uncle asked in confusion. Medical expenses, you pay 20,000 yuan for medical expenses, and I will ask Xiao Wu to injure someone worth 20,000 yuan. The uncle was furious and cursed, no matter how big or small, What are you talking about? I am Xiao Wu's uncle. Tan Shahen slapped the table and stood up, pointed at her uncle and cursed. Why the hell are you trying to show off your authority here? You are like an elder, and you deserve my respect before I call you uncle, otherwise you are nothing, understand? If you have a clear mind, you still have the nerve to come over and say you are uncle. These two cowards came here to show their prestige after being beaten up and unable to fight back. Xiao Wu injured someone and was arrested by the police. Will you deliver jail meals or go to jail for him? You still have the nerve to say that you are Xiao Wu's uncle. Is there any uncle who comes here to harm someone like this? Get out, get out, get out of here, everyone. The uncle was completely irritated and wanted to rush over while yelling. What's the matter, Zhen Zhen? The kitchen chef came in with a bone-chopping knife in his hand and asked. It's okay, Uncle Tan Shahen said. These dick hairs didn't hurt you, did they? The kitchen chef asked. Dare you, someone will come up and beat them half to death as soon as I sneeze. Tan Shahen scolded. Uncle, go ahead and do your work. Okay, if you have anything to do, just scream, and I will chop these dicks into pieces one by one. He looked at his uncle and snorted. These things are not good at first glance, I can't bear to they've been around for a long time. The kitchen chef shook the knife in his hand, turned around and left cursing. Thank you for your monthly pass. Thanks for all the reading and votes. I wish you all good health. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 736. Xiang walked to the door, knocked on the open door, and said to Tan Shahen, Zhen Zhen, are you back? Can you return the meal ticket Xiao borrowed to me? I don't have any meal tickets for lunch. Tan Shahen smiled and said, what are you talking about? I just bought a meal ticket when I left. I left it at home. There are meal tickets at home. Besides, they said Xiao Wu hasn't been back for several days, so why would they ask you to borrow a meal ticket? Xiang pointed to her uncle and said to Tan Shahen, he borrowed it. Tan Shahen's eyes pierced her uncle, did you ask for a meal ticket? The uncle nodded, pretending to be relaxed. Mrsu came over and said, I also borrowed it from here. Tan Shahen's eyes pierced her uncle again, did you also ask her to borrow it? The uncle still nodded. Okay, that's great, uncle, what a good uncle, Xiao Wu, come back here and see how I deal with you. She looked at the uncle and asked, is there anything else? Tell me. How many people did you ask to borrow meal tickets? The uncle said nothing, and Tan Shahen looked at her eldest cousin again, who turned his head away. I borrowed it from here. I am here too. I have it too. More than a dozen people came outside the door, and they all said they had borrowed meal tickets. Xiang sneered and said, Zhen Zhen, don't ask, I borrowed everything I could, so I just went to the room and grabbed it. Okay, Xiao, I'm not done with you. Tan Shahen stood up, shook her body, and suddenly burst into tears. She grabbed the cup on the table, which still had water at the bottom, and poured it over Xiang uncle. The uncle was surprised and wanted to get angry, but looking at Tan Shahen's appearance, he was also frightened. Tan Shahen pointed at him with her finger, biting her lip, trembling slightly. Uncle! Who the hell are you? Are you here to wait for Xiao Wu, or are you here to beg for food? You bastards, you are shameless, and Xiao Wu and I want to be shameless. You let me and Xiao Wu, how can we stay here? Tan Shahen cried and cursed with trembling sounds. The uncle and the people from that family turned pale. Tan Shahen slammed the table hard and roared, say it. Bastard, aren't you very majestic and powerful? Why didn't you say anything? The uncle said nothing. Tan Shahen walked up to her eldest cousin and asked, "Are you Xiao Wu's cousin?" The cousin nodded. "I'm your sister-in-law, right?" The cousin nodded again. Tan Shahen slapped him in the face. The cousin was stunned. Tan Shahen shouted, "I'm your sister-in-law, and I'm here to teach you a lesson. That old man of yours is just a scoundrel. He can't teach you how to be a good person. My sister-in-law is here to teach you." Tan Shahen's eyes were filled with tears and her voice was blood. She tugged at her cousin's clothes and cursed, "You are still wearing your school uniform and you are still a student of Yongcheng Middle School, right? What day is it today? Don't you have to go to school?" He turned around suddenly and pointed at the others, "Don't you all have to go to school?" She grabbed her cousin's collar and pulled hard, trying to pull off his school uniform. The cousin quickly hugged himself tightly with both hands to prevent her from pulling. Tan Shahen cursed, "If you want to be a gangster, just go for it. What kind of uniform do you want to wear? If you want to be like the old guys and be a scoundrel, cheating people out of food and drink until you die, then go for it. What kind of school uniform do you wear? What's the point of studying? A gangster wants to study. What book?" Tan Shahen pulled and screamed hysterically, and her cousin started crying, and then her two cousins started crying too. Tan Shahen still didn't let go, pulling hard and cursing. "Aren't you capable? If you are capable, then you dare to act like a gangster. Give it to me. Take off your school uniform. I will cut it up with scissors and throw it into the toilet. If there was a crack in the ground, my cousin would have gotten in, but unfortunately there wasn't." Finally, my cousin started crying and shouted, "It's not us who want to come. We don't want to come. It's him. He must force us to come of." Tan Shahen rushed to her uncle, grabbed his collar, and shouted loudly, "It's you. It's you. You are such a shameless bastard, and you want everyone to be as shameless as you, right? Why don't you go to hell? There is no cover on the Xianan River, why don't you jump? If I were you, I would be so embarrassed that I would jump in." Tan Shahen grabbed his clothes and shook him. This coward and scoundrel turned pale with fright. He had never seen such a scene before. Xiang and the others hurried in and pulled Tan Shahen away. Tan Shahen stood there angrily. MRSU asked, "Zhen, how about lending us meal tickets?" Tan Shahen got angry for no reason and shouted, "Don't ask me, Xiao, and I will not recognize a penny. Whoever asks you to borrow it will be the one you go to." Xiang's husband shouted, "Zhen, it's not good for you to say that. What's wrong? I asked you if you borrowed it, and Xiao asked you if you borrowed it." Tan Shahen raised her head and shouted loudly, "Every one of you, listen, Xiao and I don't have to pay for this meal ticket. I won't admit it, the person who borrowed it is still here, you ask him for it yourself, and when he leaves, don't come to me and Xiao Wu again." When Xiang's husband heard this, he rushed to his uncle, grabbed his collar, and shouted, "Then pay me back. Xiao Wu and the others don't recognize it, so please pay me back quickly." This uncle had just been let go by Tan Shahen, and now he was caught by Xiang's husband. His mind was in a state of confusion, and he was completely confused. The sweat on his forehead was pouring down. He could only keep saying, "No, no, I don't have money. You humming come here to borrow meal tickets when you don't have money? You keep coming again and again." Props ran in and caught him. The others came in and surrounded him. Tan Shahen shouted, "If you don't have money, you'll have to cut off your body to compensate. We don't care anyway, or we'll tie you up and send you to the police station. A liar comes here to cheat you with meal tickets, and meal tickets are also money. Come on, where is the liar?" Two martial arts students who were following Xiao Wu and Xiao Jin actually came in with ropes. One of the martial arts students pinched the uncle's wrist. His strong hand made the uncle feel a pain, and he knew that he would not be able to survive today. The other one put the rope around his neck. He felt that he was scared to urinate, and he quickly shouted, "Yes, yes, wait a minute, I have money." The two Wu Sheng and Xiang Xiang's husband let go of him. He bent down, took off his right shoe, rummaged through it, took out 2 pieces of 5 yuan and 1 piece of 10 yuan, and handed them to Xiang Xiang. "Husband," Xiang Xiang's husband pinched it with 2 fingers. Others shouted, 20 yuan is not enough, I will borrow 12 yuan here. My 8 and 5 yuan vegetable stamps and 2 kilograms of meal stamps. $5 for me. $13 for me." Everyone shouted. The 20 yuan was shrinking rapidly. Tan Shahen cursed, "You really have the ability to eat like this, a bunch of pigs. Xiao Wu and I can't even afford 30 yuan a month." Teacher Li shouted, "Scammers are all like this. If they are cheated, they will eat as much as they can. Anyway, they don't spend the money themselves." A martial artist shouted, "That won't work. We still need to tie him up and send him to the police station." The other one whipped the uncle with the end of a hemp rope and shouted, "If you still have any more, take it out quickly, otherwise you won't be able to leave today." The uncle was almost crying. It was gone. It really was gone. It's better to send him to the police station. Uncle Xiao doesn't even know if he is really Xiao. He is an uncle. How could he be so shameless? Someone shouted. "Yes, that makes sense, tie it up," said the martial artist holding the rope and the other martial artist. The cousin came over, tugged on Tan Shahen's clothes and cried. She still didn't dare to call her sister-in-law, "Sister, sister, tell them not to tie up my father. He is really brother Xiao's uncle. We are real, sister, sister." Tan Shahen hugged her and tears rolled down her face. This time she was really sad. She thought how unlucky this little girl must be to have such a father. The uncle also panicked and shouted, I am real, I will show you my ID card." He took out his ID card from his pocket and handed it to the 2 martial arts students. Neither of them took it. Teacher Li walked over, took it in his hand and looked at it. He said, "My surname is Wu, it should be true. In this case, everyone should give Xiao Wu some face. What about our meal tickets?" Zhen Zhen and the others don't recognize it, Xiang Xiang shouted. Teacher Li thought for a while and said, "Either way, let him write an IOU." He said to his uncle, "Write an IOU and tell them you will pay it back to them when you come here next time. Once you write the IOU, I will let them let you go, okay?" The uncle quickly nodded and said okay. Immediately someone brought a pen and paper and put it on the table. Teacher Li and the uncle said, "Go ahead and write." The uncle looked at Teacher Li and said pitifully, "I went to high school, I don't know a few words, and I can't write an IOU." Teacher Li looked at his eldest cousin and asked him, "You are a high school student, you always write IOUs, right?" The cousin nodded, and Teacher Li said, "Okay, you write it, and I will sign it after you finish it." The high school student Tebeo sat down obediently, took a pen, and began to write tremblingly. He wrote one after everyone here signed up. After writing, Teacher Li counted the total and found that he owed 172 yuan in food stamps. 11 pounds of meal tickets, but he really knew how to eat them. He really wiped out the entire troop. "And here, how much did I eat?" Tan Shahen shouted. "Tell me how many." Wu Sheng poked the uncle's waist. The uncle had a bitter look on his face. He said he couldn't remember clearly. He really couldn't remember. He ate as soon as he took it and didn't count it? "Okay, Zhen Zhen, the first 20 yuan can be given to you, okay?" Teacher Li asked. "More than that, the 30 yuan meal ticket I just bought must be more than 20 yuan if I haven't eaten for 2 days." "Forget it, Forget it, MRSU said, then he stole food from my house. How can we make it clear? Okay, Tan Shahan sighed. Come here and sign, Teacher Lee called, and the uncle walked over and wrote his name crookedly. Teacher Lee picked up the IOU and checked it with his ID card. He asked, who has ink pads? I also need to take a fingerprint. Someone immediately brought the ink pad, and Teacher Sue asked the uncle to press his fingerprints. Teacher Sue blew on the ink pad and told the uncle that it was okay. Next time you come, remember to bring money. Okay, definitely. The uncle quickly stood up and pointed at the ID card in Teacher Lee's hand. Teacher Lee returned the ID card to him. He whispered to his eldest cousin to leave and prepared to leave. Stop, Tan Shahan shouted, give me the key. The uncle hurriedly took out the key from his pocket, handed it to Tan Shahan, and then hurried away with the 4 children. The people here looked at each other and tried their best to suppress their laughter. Wu Sheng, who had followed them down, ran back and said to them, we have already gone down to Jiaohang, Xiao Wu has been liberated. The people here started laughing loudly. With this piece of paper, I can guarantee that he will never dare to come here again in his life. Teacher Lee shook the paper in his hand and said with a smile, this is really the best play our troupe has performed this year. Tan Shahan stood there, watching Teacher Lee smile. She also felt that it was so happy, and she really felt like the hearty feeling after performing a big play. Many people came over to hug Tan Shahan. MRS Lee said, what a great performance, Zhen Zhen. Tan Shahan smiled and shouted, what time is it? Why don't you go back and move the briquette stove and kerosene stove to cook in the corridor? Everyone cheered again. Thank you to book friend 201912272121261000 and book friend 1611222044308843 for your monthly votes. Thank you for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 737. The weather has begun to turn colder. At this time of year, the sky above the city is always shrouded in haze. The sky is always dark and it rains every few days, which dissipates the heat from the earth. There was a night of autumn wind and rain, and the streets and alleys of the city were covered with a thick layer of fallen leaves of French plane trees and roses, which were wet in the rain. When people ride a bicycle quickly on the road, they will slip a little. Days like this are the most difficult days for those who have no fixed place to live or whose future is uncertain. The money in their pockets is getting less and less, the luggage on their backs is getting heavier and heavier, and the new year is getting closer and closer. It felt like no place was bright as far as the eye could see, and no place was warm no matter which roof one lived on. In addition, there was water in the shoes, making the walking clattering, and the toes were frozen. With tired eyes, everyone is happy, but I feel like I have been soaked by this desolate rainy night, and I feel cold from the inside out. No matter how hard you try, you can't get it out. Who will come to salvage you? This city is crushing you mercilessly. No one cares who you are, where you come from, and where you will go next. You look at the loud chatting and laughing in the bright lights in the distance. The person who was drinking and chatting happily, you looked at the indifferent person in the car who was speeding past you, covering you in mud and water. You and them are in two worlds, no, you and the whole world are in two different spaces. The world is still one, but you are the only one who is excluded, isolated and helpless. Where is the world for you? Even you are overwhelmed and unimaginable. Thinking of yourself makes you feel heavy. Facing a passing mirror and looking at the person in the mirror, you want to say hello to yourself, but your lips he squirmed until his figure in the mirror was blurred, and he still couldn't utter those two words. What's good? When you left your hometown at the beginning of the year, you were still lively and full of hope for the city you were going to and the future. You felt that if you waved goodbye to the familiar mountains and rivers, your face would be more rosy when you came back. The pockets are more bulging, the spirit is more vigorous. Isn't the outside world more exciting? But the outside world is indeed more helpless. You are quickly brought back to your original shape by the city. Your pockets are not more bulging, your face is not more rosy, and the Chinese New Year will be in 2 months, and you are even ashamed to mention returning. The word home. You will probably go home in the end, and most people will go home. You have to calculate the round-trip fare, the meager little money, and what to buy for your parents to make them happier and make them feel that you are living a good life outside. Okay, very respectable, but no matter how you calculate it, your money is not enough. Lao Wan took a deep drag on the cigarette. He inhaled so hard that the fireworks came quickly and burned his fingers. He quickly spit it out, and the cigarette butt drew a red light in the drizzle and fell in the rain in front of me. Lao Wan sat on the steps at the entrance of Zhejiang Jingxiudadi Real Estate Co., Limited, which had just been renovated, looking at the wet road outside, the people coming and going, and the city in front of him. For several years, this season has been Lao Wan's most difficult day, and he has been struggling hard. Now, he can finally go home in a dignified manner, but his parents passed away one after another the year before last. The home without his parents is like a kite with its string cut off, flying higher and higher, becoming more and more misty in sight. Home became increasingly blurry and eventually dissipated. The appearance, shadow, and meaning of home were all gone. It was the home of his brothers and sisters, but it was no longer the home of his Lao Wan. Lao Wan had no home now. He felt that the Sanbeo factory was more like his home. Getting along with the people here was better than the relationship between brothers and sisters. There are fewer conflicts, and there are fewer squabbles between parents. Lao Wan looked at the city in front of him and thought about his deceased parents. He felt a deep sadness. To this city, he is just an ordinary person, but ordinary people also have the joys and sorrows and existence of ordinary people. Although their existence is often so inconspicuous, so easy to disappear, so inconspicuous that one day you encounter misfortune, then the newspapers would only say that the driver of the car failed to pay attention to the surrounding road conditions when turning, and a car accident occurred, which unfortunately resulted in the death of a cyclist. There may be tens or millions of people reading the newspaper, and there may be tens or millions of pairs of eyes reading this news, but no one will pay attention or want to know who the cyclist is. Most people, all I care about is, what will happen to me driving a car? Has my driver's license been revoked? How much does it cost? Many passers-by on bicycles passed by Lao Wan. They almost unanimously turned their heads to look this way, but no one noticed Lao Wan sitting on the steps of the gate. Instead, they looked at the bright light in the glass. Several handsome men and beautiful women were moving around in a very fashionable office area composed of black and white that no one in Hangzhou had ever seen. Some people couldn't hold themselves back and got out of the car out of curiosity, pushed their bicycles onto the sidewalk, and looked in close to the glass. Lao Wan also turned around and looked around. He saw Zhang Chen, Xiao Zhao, He Hongmei and Fan Jiangguo, as well as the two beautiful girls Wen Wen and Qian Qian. Starting from tomorrow, they will work here and live above. On the second floor, Lu Ligan also moved here. The rooms upstairs were decorated according to the standards of the rooms in the Xingqiao Hotel that Zhang Chen took Lao Wan to see. Lao Wan took out his cigarette case and was about to smoke another cigarette. Lu Ligan sat down on the steps next to him, took out a cigarette and handed it to him. Lu Ligan said, "Thank you for your hard work, Lao Wan." Lu Ligan said that he wanted to renovate it with great urgency, so Lao Wan and his maintenance team did it with great haste. In just 10 days, the place changed. Lao Wan smiled. It was a long time, but he finally got out. After the decoration was completed, he didn't expect it to be so beautiful. Lu Ligan said, "I thought about it and have never been disappointed." Lao Wan knew that what he was talking about was Mr. Zhang's design, and Lao Wan felt a little envious of them. These two were not brothers, but they were better than brothers. Especially Lu Ligan. When he arrived in Hangzhou a few months ago, he had almost nothing like himself. How could he have such a big business now? Lao Wan really couldn't figure it out. He felt like it's like magic. What are you thinking about, Lao Wan? Lu Ligan asked. I was wondering how you got rich so quickly, Lao Wan said, and Lu Ligan laughed. Opportunities, hard work, and my accumulation in the first half of my life. Lao Wan, let me tell you, now is the best time to make money. Look at Wu Ziyawai and the others. Isn't it very hard, being caught, and having to hide and hide? But in a few years, I tell you, they will definitely make it big. I believe this. I believe it too, Lao Wan said. Lu Lapole patted him on the shoulder and told him, Lao Wan, you will have this day, as long as you work hard. Lao Wan smiled sheepishly and said, I tried hard, but I lost money. Then come again. What are you afraid of if you lose? I've also suffered losses, and my losses will definitely be worse than yours, Lu Ligan said. I heard it. I heard my master say that in Hainan, you are doing something bigger than here. You are building buildings with more than 40 floors, Lao Wan said. Yes, that happened, but it's all over. I was just thinking about how to build the scaffolding and transport the concrete in this 40-story building. I can't figure it out, Lao Wan said and shook his head. You'll know when you make it, Lu Ligan said with a smile. I built it? Impossible. I haven't even built a 6-story house. At most, it's the 5-story house in the factory, Lao Wan said. Lu Ligan laughed and said, Okay, Lao Wan, I promise you, I will let you build a house with more than 6 floors next time. Really, the boss has nothing to say, Lu Ligan said. Okay, then I must do a good job, Lao Wan said with a smile. I believe you, I can see it, Lao Wan, you are a good person, loyal and honest, and you are serious about everything you do. If such a person fails, there is no justice. Lao Wan chuckled, there are so many people in the world, how could God know me? Lu Ligan agreed, if God doesn't recognize it, then I, Lu Ligan, will. The two of them sat on the steps and finished smoking a cigarette. Then they stood up and walked in. They saw Zhang Chen writing and drawing on a piece of paper, explaining to Wen Qian what was on the furniture inside. What kind of flowers should be bought for a vase and what color? Wen asked, so strict? Zhang Chen said, of course, the flowers are for the finishing touch. If they are well matched, the colors will be harmonious and comfortable when viewed from the outside. By the way, didn't you study opera? Have you ever been on stage? Wen nodded. Then the props on the stage, such as a cup or a bowl, are useless. Wen thought for a while and said, it seems that there really isn't. By the way, your company is now a stage. Did you see that outside the glass is the auditorium? Although these audiences are mobile, you cannot be careless at all on this stage. All the props, including the actors, are your, every action must be very rigorous, you should know better than me what the actor should do on stage, Zhang Chen said. Wen and Qian both nodded, and Lu Ligan clapped his hands beside him and shouted. What Zhang Chen said makes sense. By the way, Fan Jiangguo, you should also learn from this. When you walk in every day, you must realize that you are performing on stage. Zhang Chen is right. Our company is now a stage. Outside here is the auditorium. Oh my God, how tiring it must be to work here, He Hongmei shouted. Wen and Qian giggled. Lu Ligan glared at He Hongmei and cursed, you have to put on makeup every day, isn't it just for others to look at you more? He then asked Wen and Qian, do you feel very happy to have such a place that people see every day? Wen and Qian looked at him, not knowing how to answer. Lu Ligan smiled and said, you just need to remember that here, even farts have to be done gracefully. Someone will watch your farts. Ween Wen and Qian blushed and went to chase Lu Ligan. The others laughed, and He Hongmei shook her head and cursed. This gangster is a gangster. Whatever words come out of his mouth reveal his true nature. Zhang Chen asked He Hongmei to measure the sizes of Fan Jiangguo and Ween Wen Qian. He wanted to make work clothes for them. He had already thought about it. Their work clothes should not be black or navy blue, but squirrel gray, elegant and lively. Suitable for both men and women. Fan Jiangguo pulled Lu Ligang to the side and asked him, "Didn't you say you wanted to recruit 2 trappers, girls? Why were they?" Lu Ligang scolded, "You have a good idea. These 2 are mine. Now the sales department has no houses to sell, so I asked them to come here to make up for the appearance. Do you understand? We haven't started recruiting here yet, but when we do, we're guaranteed to find someone you'll be satisfied with." Okay, I still won't move on these 2 that you labeled. Fan Jiangguo nodded. Thank you to Zihukainiu, Zhao Dongxiu 10086, Lu, Daipen, Ba Liang, and Book Friends 2017071009481038 for your monthly votes. Thank you for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 738. Zhejiang Jingxiu Dadi Real Estate Co., Limited once again became famous, this time not through the media, but through word of mouth. It became very popular in Hangzhou. Many people made a special trip to the junction of Moganshan Road and Vensan Road. Come and see their company. At the gate of their company, there are many people looking in every day. Even many of Ween Wen and Kinkin's classmates came here and looked at them enviously through the glass outside. Some classmates they knew also walked in. When Ween Wen and Qian saw it, they got up quickly and asked them to negotiate. Sitting on the sofa in the area and chatting for a while, Ween Wen and Qian felt why they were still so childish. The 2 sides had almost nothing in common. But a few girls were sitting there, chatting with exaggerated expressions in full view of the public outside the glass. Both the people talking and the people watching found it enjoyable. The students who went in and came out had flushed faces and looked proudly at the people outside the glass. They were still a little excited. They really felt like they had just stepped off the stage. Some close classmates asked Ween Wen and Qian, "Are you still recruiting people here?" Ween Wen and Qian frowned slightly and said, "They still seem to be good at recruiting, but we are very strict in recruiting people here." The person who asked nodded and sighed inwardly. It was certainly difficult to get into such a company. Ween Wen and Qian were lucky enough to get in so early. Su Wenhui mobilized his brothers and sisters and also pushed it, but such news could not get a very conspicuous page. It could only occupy a small part of the newspaper, but it was a but. It was better than nothing. The fame of this place relies more on mass communication. Although the communication tool is relatively simple, just the mouth, the speed will be a bit slow. If it were done today, it would save trouble. It would definitely become an internet celebrity check-in point in one night. Lu Ligan looked at his company, smoldering and fermenting in Hangzhou. Su Wenhui said to him, "Our colleagues in the newspaper office are now guessing what you are going to do next. And, Pole, do you know that you are here now? It has become a new landmark. When people talk about a place, they no longer say the Hangcheng Customs on Moganshan Road, but the splendid land." Lu Ligan smiled, feeling secretly proud that this was exactly what he wanted. He wanted to turn this beautiful land of office buildings into the Jinghai International Financial Center in Haikan. Although the 2 volumes were completely different, as long as they were famous, the effect would be the same. Trust is real, and there will be entrustment with benefits later. Just like Fan Qishun would entrust the entire Yiming food factory to him, and Zhang Mushan would hand over 80% of the rights and interests of the project under construction to him. This trust is heavy. Worth thousands of gold, tens of millions of gold. And fame, although it is fictitious, but when it is realized, it is also a stepping stone and a paving stone. Just like Lu Ligan, with the Jinghai International Financial Center, it will become a green light all the way in Haikan. Lu Ligan to make splendid land, in Hangzhou, he has a green light as long as he goes out. This requires the reputation he has accumulated. There is no one or any organization who does not look at celebrities or well-known companies in a different light. This is not snobbery, but a normal human reaction. The full-page advertisement on the front page of Hangcheng Daily made Lu Ligan famous. The splendid home project made him famous. The continuous hype of off-the-plan properties made him famous. Chen Jing'ai came to buy it. His shop also allowed him to gain fame, but fame would fade over time, so he had to keep warming it to keep it fresh forever. And an office located on the roadside in a prosperous area is very good for maintaining its reputation, because whether you like it or not, you will see it often. It is stuck on the roadside, just like an advertisement. Lu Ligan is equal to it cost him 60,000 yuan to rent an advertising space at this intersection. He thought it was a good deal. This is why Fan Jiangguo was able to tell his requirements when asked what kind of place he wanted to find. From the day he planned to open a new office, he had already thought that his company needed to have such a high-profile existence. By the road. Lu Ligan needs fame because he knows that doing real estate is different from Zhang Chen and others doing clothing. They can do it behind closed doors. Apart from contacting their own customers, they hardly have to deal with the outside world, which is not the case with real estate. Not only do it with the door open, but also with a loud voice, because there are too many departments it has to deal with. Industry and commerce, taxation, banking, civil engineering, planning, urban construction, housing management, environmental protection, fire protection, quality supervision, health, labor, etc. There is no department that does not need to deal with. Even the earthquake resistance of houses has to deal with the seismic observatory, and the lightning protection has to deal with the meteorological observatory. Plus the various departments of the district government, and what about the streets? You deal with so many departments. If you don't take shortcuts and follow the steps step by step, you will be dragged to death. But if you take shortcuts, you must either rely on your reputation to increase your own worth and bargaining chips, so that the other party will not dare to underestimate you, value you. Or just like Meng Ping, cut the interests into small pieces, and the relevant people in each department will give him different pieces according to the weight of the other party, so that all roads can be connected. But Lu Ligan has always been afraid of this. He will always think of the clear Huang Hongguang, who has a sharp gaze like a leader. Huang Hongguang can be said to have reached the pinnacle in this regard, but what is the final result? Not only could he not save his own life, but he could not even protect his own daughter and woman. Unless absolutely necessary and at critical moments, Lu Ligan would try to do as little as possible. This is why he recruited Wen Wen and Qian from the beginning. People have many kinds of needs. You just need to satisfy some of his needs. If you want, you can get what you want, just like Wen Wen and Qian in Haikan, dealing with Lao Ma and Xiao Zanbo. In comparison, Lu Ligan thinks this is safer. After all, it leaves no trace. Just like when I was in Kangnan, I arranged for Su Jianmei to sit in the cab of that nymphomaniac driver, and told Su Jianmei, just let him touch it, and then you can just wash your hands. Some time ago, Zhang Mushan took Wen Wen and Qian on an expedition, which also confirmed Lu Ligan's judgment. The reason why he went to the art school to find someone, haha, as long as you know what eyebrow-raising means, you will understand, and who knows how to flirt with each other better than actors and would-be actors. When these two babies are eating together, one can stand up and sing shyly at any time, bringing tears to the pear blossoms, and the other can stand up and dance at any time. It is impossible for the host and the guest not to enjoy themselves. What is the enjoyment of an emperor? This is the enjoyment of an emperor. Have you ever seen that in movies and TV shows, those emperors like to have people singing and dancing in front of them? Even the Jade Emperor and the Bull Demon King like it. Wen Wen and Qian Qian are his cloud-piercing arrows, and fame is his light belt. He wants the cloud-piercing arrow to drag this light belt, or the light belt wraps around the arrow and whizzes away, so that he can be invincible. Lu Ligan also wants to make a name for himself. When he is looking for his target everywhere, he also hopes that the target will come to him. What he did with Yiming Food Factory has now become a well-known story in Hangzhou. Everyone knows that he hopes that there will be another factory director like Amitabha who will come to him with his Amitabha factory. He is in the open, while the targets are in the dark. Amitabha is an adjective here. People in Yongcheng like to use it this way. It means that you have asked Bodhisattva to bless you. How can you still get along? How can this factory be good? Amitabha among Yongcheng people is like understand among Hainanese and can't win among Hunanese. It has a broad meaning. If one person asks another person, how is it, and the other person says Amitabha, then he understands. Even when playing cards, when someone grabs a bad hand and frowns, they will say Amitabha. When saying this, they usually use Zhejiang dialect. Lu Ligan felt that the brewing time was almost up, so he detained Su Wenhui. Su Wenhui called back, and Lu Ligan asked him, "How is it? Are you free in the afternoon? Come with me to your advertising department. I want to place an ad." Su Wenhui quickly said okay. Lu Ligan himself also knew the director of the advertising department of Hangcheng Daily. The reason why he asked Su Wenhui to accompany him was because he knew the business very well. Su Wenhui took him there. Needless to say, the director of the advertising department knew that this was after the advertising fees for the business brought by Su Wenhui arrive. He will call Su Wenhui to collect the commission. What good would it do Su Wenhui to run for himself? Of course Lu Ligan would be thinking about him. The director of the advertising department was happy when he saw Lu Ligan coming. He knew that big business was coming. This time, it was not the front page. The front page had already been done. It didn't mean much to him or the newspaper. Besides, the front page, the risk of printing is too great. You have already arranged the printing and are just waiting to get on the machine. If an urgent press release from Xinhua News Agency arrives at this time, you still have to withdraw it immediately. Lu Ligan also made 2 full pages this time. The content of the advertisement was wanted talents. His Jinxiudati Real Estate Co., Limited had already become famous, and it was time to wanted talents. Lu Ligan believes that many people will come. "I want to go to your place," even Su Wenhui said. The advertisement was posted for 2 days, but the recruitment registration was only for 1 day on Sunday. Otherwise, Lu Ligan was afraid that he would be too busy. On Sunday, he could ask Zhang Chen to recruit help for a few days. Where can he find so many helpers? Another thing is that Lu Ligan wanted to create a crowd of people. On Sunday, just as Lu Ligan had expected, more than 1,000 people had signed up. The queue was lined up on the road outside, turned from Vensan Road, and ended up on Moganshan Road. After entering Hangcheng Customs, I wandered around in the courtyard of Hangcheng Customs. Anyway, the customs was closed today. The security guard watching the gate knew Mr. Lu and Lu Ligan. He Hung Mei, Zheng Huiyang and Ji Ling all came to help, as well as people from Lu Ligan's own company, who helped issue and collect forms. The row of tables at the gate for people to fill in the forms was not enough. Many people received the forms and immediately queued up to hand in the forms. As the line moved, they posted the forms on the wall of the customs building nearby. Writing, or squatting down, filling in on his lap. The form here is very strange. Not only do you have to fill in your personal situation, but you also have to fill in your parents' work units and positions, as well as a lot of uncles, aunts, and uncles. Lou Ligon sat where the forms were collected. When he got the forms, he would mostly look at them and say thank you, and for some others, he would ask a few simple questions. On many forms, he would make various marks, including 5-pointed stars, triangles, circles, square boxes, and hashtag signs. No one knew these. What does the symbol mean? He Hungmei asked what this was, and Lou Ligon laughed and said to her, Tianji, this is Tianji. Get out, he Hungmei cursed. Thank you to Bustling Farce, Cup Guy API, and May for your monthly passes. Thank you for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 739. Su Wenhui walked in with two people, said hello to Lou Ligon, took pictures from inside to outside with a camera, and also interviewed several people in line on the spot. Unit recruitment is not news, but with so many people applying, it can become a piece of social news. After filming and interviewing, Su Wenhui came in and told Lou Ligon, Pangzi, let's go. Lou Ligon said that we would have dinner together at noon later. What kind of meal are you going to have? Just do your business and I will arrange it, Su Wenhui said and left. Lou Ligon asked Fan Jiangguo to take 3 red envelopes and chase him out. A black Santana stopped outside the glass. Lu Li took a look and exclaimed, Zhang Chen, Lou Ligon called. Zhang Chen turned around and saw Lou Ligon pointing out of the glass. Zhang Chen was also surprised. He saw Director Lu getting off the Santana. Lou Ligon and He Hungmei said, Mei Yao, I leave this place to you. He Hungmei asked, how can I draw those ghostly symbols of yours? Lou Ligon said, just write a word of congratulations. He Hungmei did not write the word hey, but drew a 5-petal plum blossom. Lou Ligon and Zhang Chen hurried out. When they reached the door, Director Lu had already gone up the steps. When he saw them, he laughed and said, Mr. Lu, that's good. I heard a lot of people talking about your place. I saw you were recruiting troops again today, so I came over to take a look. I didn't expect so many people. Zhang Chen and Lou Ligon came forward to greet them. Director Lu held their hands one by one and held them tightly. Director Lu asked, Mr. Zhang, did you design this place too? Zhang Chen said yes, which made Director Lu laugh. Director Lu laughed loudly, how dare I laugh? It should be said that it is indeed extraordinary. Lou Ligon led Director Lu to his office upstairs. On the 2nd floor, in the reception area at the entrance of the stairs, Director Lu saw a frame hanging here. In the frame was the full-page advertisement on the front page. Lou Ligon the Pole said it was hung here to commemorate. According to Lou Ligon's intention, this advertisement was originally going to be hung below the entrance. Zhang Chen disagreed. He said it was too arrogant and looked like a rich man. He suggested hanging it here. He said there were advantages to hanging it here. Yes, your guests will still be able to see it, but it won't look too sharp. Isn't it good to show off your edge? Lou Ligon asked. Do you know why a sword needs a scabbard? The better the sword, the more it needs a good scabbard. The scabbard is used to hide the edge. The hidden edge is sharp, and the one exposed will only rust quickly. Lou Ligon listened to it and felt that it was nonsense and made some sense, so he hung it here. Director Lu stared at the advertisement, nodded and said, it is indeed very meaningful. Hangcheng Daily has never seen a full-page advertisement on the front page. The day before yesterday, I saw your recruitment advertisement and felt it was not enough, so I thought, Mr. Lu, why don't you make the front page this time? Zhang Chen and Lou Ligon both laughed. The 3 people sat down in Lou Ligon's office. Director Lu asked Lu Ligan what project he was going to do next. Lu Ligan said that he hadn't found the right one yet. Director Lu asked in detail about the cooperation model between Lu Ligan and Yiming Food Factory. After hearing this, he was very emotional. He said that this is a win-win situation. The factory got their new factory building and you got the space for development. Oh, by the way, it should be triple win, and our government gets tax revenue. This city looks shabby, but there are treasures everywhere, it depends on how the resources are allocated. Lu Ligan was right. If this city were run like a business, it would soon change its appearance. Director Liu's eyes lit up and he shouted, "That's right, that's a good idea. Running a city is a new idea. In the past, we only knew how to call it city management. As a result, the more we took care of it, the worse it became. We managed so many dangerous old communities and shanty towns. If we manage the city, our thinking will be opened up, and there will be various methods." Director Lu thought of a question and said, "As for the Yiming Food Factory you mentioned earlier, I also feel that it is a trend. In the future, factories in cities will definitely have to move out, otherwise many problems will arise." "That's right," Zhang Chen said, "I have read a lot of foreign information. Not only factories will move outside the city, but also residential areas will move outside the city." "Oh, then where will they live?" Director Lu asked. "Suburbs, residential towns, and the entire city are divided into different blocks according to different functions. The main urban area is only a commercial, financial and office center, and living areas are scattered around the city. People drive, subway, and bus wait for public transport to come into town." As Zhang Chen spoke, Director Lu kept nodding his head. He asked Zhang Chen, "Where did you get this information?" Zhang Chen told him that he saw it in the database of a Hong Kong design company in Hainan. "Hainan, Hong Kong," Director Lu muttered, with obvious disappointment on his face. Director Lu said, "Alas, we talk about development every day, but sometimes we see very little and don't know how to develop. Look, now the central government wants to encourage the development and prosperity of the real estate market. As for us, we don't even know what real estate is. You know, from now on, I want to ask Mr. Lu and Mr. Zhang for more advice in this regard, and you can't refuse." Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan both laughed and said, "Director Lu, you are so polite. If you have any orders, just ask us." "You're not polite, Xiao Lu. I really want to ask you to give me some real estate lessons when I have time. You have all been through the strong winds and waves in Hainan. What you have experienced, to be honest, sounds like fantasy to us." Tan Director Lu said seriously. Lu Ligan said yes, but if I really wanted to give a lecture, there was someone who could give it better than me. "Who?" "Xiao Wei, Wei Venfang." "Xiao Wei also knows real estate," Director Lu said in surprise. "Yes, she not only understands, but also has practical experience. She is the office director of our company and also serves as our sales manager. All our houses are sold through her, and she is a real estate agent in Hong Kong." "Expert system training," Lu Ligan said. Huo, if you can't tell, then I really have to ask Xiao Wei for advice when I have the chance," Director Lu shouted. Director Lu sat with them for more than half an hour, then stood up and said goodbye. Lu Ligan wanted to treat him to dinner, but he couldn't say no, and I had to go back to cook. Today, Sunday, I sneaked out of the house secretly. Now I'm going back. I'm afraid they're already going to be scolded." Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan laughed. They sent Director Lu downstairs. The number of people signing up downstairs not only did not decrease, but actually increased. Lu Ligan looked very happy, but Director Lu felt a little worried. This showed that the potential employment pressure in the city was probably coming. Seeing Director Liu's car drive away, Zhang Chen cursed, "What the hell do you want to do? Push Wei Venfang out in such a grand way?" Lu Ligan smiled and said, Did you see it? I wonder if I was trying to help Wei Wenfang. Didn't you see how eager Wei Wenfang is to get close to the big tree of Director Lu and protect her? Don't humming. Zhang Chen cursed for half a sentence, but couldn't continue the curse. Lu Ligan said, "What are you worrying about? Some things will happen when they should happen. If it doesn't happen, it won't happen no matter what. If Wei Wenfang is the kind of person you think, if there is no Director Lu today, she will happen tomorrow." Met Director Chen and Director Li. Zhang Chen thought it made sense and stopped talking. They were busy until more than 5 o'clock, and then the entire registration process was completed. Lu Ligan asked everyone to help him separate the forms according to different symbols, and stack the forms with the same symbols together. "What are you going to do next?" He Hongmei asked. "Thank you Yao Mei for your concern. Of course I watch it every day," Lu Ligan said. "So much?" "Yes, I will watch it day and night. I will notify you of the re-examination in 4 days. I promise not to delay it," Lu Ligan said. Okay, it's your company anyway, I don't care about you," He Hongmei scolded. "I just saw you being so careless and not taking it seriously. There are so many people today and waiting in line for such a long time, I feel it's not worth it for them." He Hongmei cursed, and other people looked at the two of them and laughed. Lu Ligan said, "Do you have a grudge against me or are you just naturally biased? What makes you think it's a joke that I would spend so much money, put up 2 pages of ads, and bring so many people together? What's so great? There used to be a king who mobilized armies from all over the country just to make the woman he liked look funny. That was a big gangster who could do such a thing as mobilizing armies. You little kid rogue, why is it so strange to have 2 ads?" He Hongmei cursed, and Zhang Chen felt that another string of Sichuan dialect would come out at any time. Lu Ligan sighed and said, "Then tell me, why am I not being serious and why am I being careless? Then tell me, what do those ghostly drawings of yours mean?" He Hongmei asked, and Lu Ligan couldn't help but laugh. It seemed that it was her curiosity that was tormenting her. Lu Ligan took the large stack of registration forms over and said to He Hongmei, "Okay, I see you have a pig's head and you can't understand. Let me use my brain to help you answer your questions." He Hongmei giggled and said, "First of all, there are no paintings on these." "Simple, I was eliminated," Lu Ligan said, "but I will watch it again." "What about the square one? Suitable for the office down there. What about the triangular one? Suitable for the sales department. Pentagram. 50 cents is money, dang rang, 50 cents, of course it's the finance department. Then this one has a hash mark. I will consider whether you can be my assistant." "I'll go, you want so many assistants." "I just think they might be suitable, but it's not finalized." "Yes," Zhang Chen said, when he wrote his autobiography, he asked 5 beauties from Peking University to surround him and record it. Lu Ligan glared at him, and the others laughed. "Moreover, what do these ones with a symbol in front and a circle behind them mean?" He Hongmei asked. "I think this is better," Lu Ligan said. Fan Jiangguo picked up the form that He Hongmei mentioned and looked at it. He saw that the photo on the form was of an ordinary-looking girl, but on the form, there was not only a box, but also a circle. That is to say, this person focusing on being with him. Fan Jiangguo couldn't help but shout. "Mr. Lu, didn't you say you wanted to recruit some beautiful tricks? This one is considered beautiful." Lu Ligan laughed and said to He Hongmei, "Did you see this? This is a gangster, a local specialty gangster. Imitate one thing, but the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked," He Hongmei scolded. Zhang Chen took the form and looked at it. The girl on it was indeed very ordinary, but when he looked down at the contents of the form, he understood. He knew what Lu Ligan wanted to do, and why did their form look so different. The design is so complex. The girl's father works at the Hangcheng bicycle spoke factory and is the director of the factory. Damn it, isn't it just another Fanjiangguo? The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 740. The Hangcheng bicycle spoke factory is on the edge of the canal, not far from the factory gate. 70 or 80 meters away is Gongchen Bridge. Gongchen Bridge is the tallest and longest stone arch bridge in Hangzhou. It spans the Beijing-Hangzhou Grand Canal from east to west and is the largest bridge between Beijing and Hangzhou. The sign marking the end of the canal to Hangzhou. In the era when waterways were still the main way to travel, those students who went north to Beijing to take exams, merchants doing business, or down-and-out bureaucrats who were demoted and returned to their hometowns, they walked drowsily south along the Grand Canal day and night. When I see the Gongchen Bridge, my heart will settle down. I am proud or frustrated, rich or not. After crossing this bridge, I have finally returned home. Let's talk about it later. The cement boats transporting sand, gravel, and coal on the canal kept moving, and even after walking for a long time, they seemed to be still in the same place. The hand-drawn barges transporting manure had passed by, but the faint smell of manure still lingered around. When Lu Lizan arrived here, his heart dropped. This place was simply not the place he should be. Lu Ligan took Fan Jiangguo to the top of the bridge to take a look. On this side of the Gongchen Bridge was a large industrial factory, including not only the Hangcheng bicycle spoke factory, but also Hangai Mian and Hangzhou Yumian, which were many times larger. Silk Union, these factories have a common feature: they are deserted, there are almost no people or cars in the factory area, and all the chimneys do not emit smoke. One look at this industrial area and it seems that it has been abandoned here by the times. It's no wonder that these are the industries that have been hit the hardest by emerging township and village enterprises and private enterprises. Cotton and silk weaving factories, how can they be better than the enterprises in Qiqiao, Wujiang, Shenzhen, and Shengxian, and spoke factories? How can they do it better than the hardware factories in Yongkang and Wuyi? On the other side of the bridge is an old city with narrow streets and low and dilapidated houses. It looks like a slum. Fan Jiangguo said from the side that this kind of trashy western place has no future. Lu Ligan also felt that there was no future, at least not for the time being. If you build a splendid home in the middle of this industrial factory, who would you sell it to? For the people in this old factory area, food and clothing are not enough. It is more important than the house, and for the people on the other side of the bridge, living on this side of the bridge is probably like being pushed over and beheaded, and they have to spend their own money to buy a house. I don't know if he has money in his pocket, but even if he had money, if he was struck by lightning 3 times in a row, he probably wouldn't be so dizzy that he would buy a house across the street. Lu Ligan knew that in China, the two sides of many rivers are connected by bridges. But their contempt is deep-rooted, deeper than a river, just like Shanghai Nessa would rather have a bed in Puxi than a room in Pudong. Fan Jiangguo was still urging him to leave, but Lu Ligan said to sit down and smoke a cigarette before talking. He felt that there was something in his heart that he hadn't figured out yet. The two people sat down on the railing of the bridge and smoked cigarettes. Lu Ligan looked down at the Hangcheng bicycle spoke factory not far from the bridge. The factory area is not small. It should be more than twice the size of Yiming Food Factory. The entire factory area is empty. There seem to be some people moving around in only 2 dormitory buildings. There is a factory building built directly on the bank of the canal. There are 2 drainage outlets side by side. One of them is still gurgling sewage into the canal. This is probably the domestic sewage in the dormitory building. There is also a drainage outlet that is dry, but from the drainage outlet to the canal below, there is a dark brown and dark green water stain that is soaked in chemicals and oil. It grows in the cracks of the stone slab close to the water surface. A few wild rami plants block the water stain, making it less glaring and ugly. Lu Ligan judged that this workshop should be the electroplating workshop of the spoke factory. This drain was used to discharge industrial wastewater from the electroplating workshop. From the dryness of the drain, it was obvious that the factory had been out of production for many years. Lu Ligan stared at this large industrial factory area and smoked cigarettes. A boat entered the bridge hole from the other side of the bridge. People on the railings on the opposite side stood up, ran to the middle of the bridge, and then sat here. The people on the railings of the side bridge also stood up and fled to the middle of the bridge. Fan Jiangguo didn't know what they were doing. After thinking for a while, he suddenly realized that he stood up and ran away. He turned around and saw that Lu Ligan was still sitting there, staring at the factory area under the bridge. "Bake, burn, burn, Mr. Lu!" Fan Jiangguo shouted, but it was too late. The bow of the ship had already come out from under the bridge here. The smoke emitted enveloped Lu Ligan's whole body. A pungent smell of diesel mixed with heat waves hit his face. Almost overturned him and fell off the bridge. Fortunately, Fan Jiangguo rushed over and pulled him away from the bridge railing. Looking at Lu Ligan again, the maroon jacket on the outside and the white shirt on the inside are covered with black sesame dots, the strands of hair stand on end, and his face is also pockmarked. Many people gathered around and watched Lu Ligan laugh. Lu Ligan wanted to laugh too, but couldn't. The two people hurriedly got off the bridge. Lu Ligan walked to the pier next to the bridge and wanted to wash his face, but he saw the water in the canal in front of him, black and shiny, and there was a person beside him, scrubbing with a broom. "Brush the toilet." When Lu Ligan came back, Fan Jiangguo pointed in the direction of the spoke factory gate and said, "There is a small shop there." They went over and bought 2 bottles of Wahaha mineral water. Lu Ligan washed his face and left most of the bottle of water. Lu Ligan lowered his head and asked Fan Jiangguo to pour the water on his head. As a result, his hair was not washed clean, but soaked in water. It was wet and couldn't stand up. His head hung down as if he was admitting guilt, and asked Fan Jiangguo to buy napkins quickly. Fan Jiangguo saw towels for sale in the shop, so he simply bought a towel and handed it to Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan wiped the water off his hair. Fan Jiangguo and Lu Ligan said, "There seems to be a hair washer over there. Do you want to wash your hair?" He was referring to the other side of Gongchen Bridge. Lu Ligan scolded that in a store like this, they don't know whether to wash the upper part of the head or the lower part of the head. Fan Jiangguo chuckled. The lower part of his head felt comfortable after being washed, but the upper part didn't matter. "You're not too damn dirty, that's the 1,000-hand Guanyin," Lu Ligan cursed, while Fan Jiangguo continued to laugh. Lu Ligan threw the towel into the garbage pile on the roadside and continued walking towards the spoke factory. Fan Jiangguo asked where he was going. Lu Ligan said, "Come on, come and have a look." "It's a useless place to farm in the west," Fan Jiangguo said. Lu Ligan glared at him, and Fan Jiangguo shouted, "Okay, you have the final say." They walked to the gate of the spoke factory. The iron gate at the gate was closed, but the small door on the gate was open. The two people walked in. On both sides of the road at the gate were 2 rows of promotional display windows. Lu Ligan looked inside and saw the notice of the National Day holiday in 1988. Lu Ligan smiled and said, "Damn it, is this the Peach Blossom Land? I wonder if there are any Han people there? Hey, what are you doing?" A small middle-aged man came out of the house behind the promotional window and shouted at them. "Dang dang Fan Jiangguo said. The man waved his hand outside and shouted impatiently, "Get out, get out." Fan Jiangguo became angry, stared at him and asked, "You Sashi?" Lu Ligan quickly stopped him. Lu Ligan asked, "I want to find Director Ying. I wonder if he is here?" The man looked at Lu Ligan and asked, "Which one are you?" "Oh, I am from Zhejiang Jingxiu Dadi Real Estate Co., Limited," Lu Ligan said. "This is our boss," Fan Jiangguo added. The other party looked Lu Ligan up and down. Lu Ligan knew that he didn't look like a boss with his embarrassed appearance. He was about to explain when the other party asked, "Has he been poisoned?" Lu Ligan quickly said yes, and it seemed that the other party knew this very well. The other party nodded to Lu Ligan and said to him, "I am Yang Xiahua, may I introduce you?" Fan Jiangguo was wondering on the sidelines, how could Lu Ligan know the surname of the factory director here was Ying? Lu Ligan and Yang Xiahua said, "Hello Director Ying, I just want to know a little bit about the situation. By the way, do you know that your daughter applied for a job with us yesterday?" Yang Xiahua nodded. He said that he heard her talk about it when she came back, saying that there were many people signing up. Yang Xiaohua's expression slowed down and he asked strangely, "Why, now we have to conduct home visits when recruiting workers?" Lu Ligan smiled and said, No, your daughter is doing very well. I'm not here to understand her situation, but the situation of this factory." Yang Xiahua let them into the office. In the entire office building, only his office door was open, and he was the only one in his office. After sitting down, Yang Xiahua asked Lu Ligan, "Do you want to buy any equipment? There is nothing for sale here, everything is almost sold, and all that is left is an empty house." Lu Ligan shook his head and said, "No, we don't need equipment." "Director Ying, let me ask, how big is the area of this factory? Are you talking about land area or building area? Occupy space." 79,000 square meters. Lu Ligan calculated that it was about 120 acres. Yang Xiahua stared at Lu Ligan for a long time and asked, "Do you want to buy this place?" Lu Ligan smiled and said, "I have this idea." Yang Xiahua straightened up. He said it was difficult and he couldn't buy it. Otherwise, someone would have already bought it and stacked the steel here. "Why is it so difficult?" Lu Ligan asked. "The people living in the dormitory building behind them can't be driven away at once." "It's okay. I'm not in a hurry to use it. Let them live there until they need it," Lu Ligan said. "That's okay." Yang Xiahua thought for a moment and said bluntly, "I heard that it's difficult to get into your company, right? Then, for 600,000, I will help you buy this place and you recruit my daughter into the company." Lu Ligan was stunned for a moment. He was surprised that the other party was so straightforward. He said, "Okay, deal. But let me ask, do you have any other remaining issues here?" "No more. We can't get rid of the old workers who have no place to live, but there are no other problems." Yang Xiahua looked at Lu Ligan and said, "What are you worried about? I will lie to you when my daughter is with you. To be honest, I also have a headache. This daughter has nothing to do after graduating from high school. She cries at home every day. Other factory directors are all very popular, but I am just an empty-handed person." "Then it's Amitba," Lu Ligan thought. "Okay, that's it. When can we go through the formalities?" Lu Ligan asked. "Prepare the money. When I call you to inform you, come over and sign. After signing, you take my daughter with you." Lu Ligan couldn't help laughing and said, "Director Ying, why do you sound like you're selling the factory to have a daughter?" Yang Xiahua also laughed and said, "There is no way. If people are not punished for themselves, I only have so little power left. Even if I use my power for personal gain, I can do something good for my daughter." Lu Ligan handed his business card to Yang Xiahua, and the two of them left. Fan Jiangguo advised Lu Ligan, "Mr. Lu, if you think about it again, I still don't think it's worth it. This place is so rough. If the price is the same as Xiasha, 30,000 acres per acre is okay. 50,000 acres is too expensive. Besides, it's so expensive, what's the use of buying it from this rubbish place? It's 5,000, idiot, who did you learn arithmetic from?" Lu Ligan cursed. Fan Jiangguo chuckled. "I think 5,000 is expensive." Lu Ligan smiled and said, "No matter how old a nail is, it is still a nail. It can still be used after being picked up. What do you mean? Fan Jiangguo asked. Lu Ligan smiled and said nothing. Lu Ligan certainly didn't buy this place to build houses. He still felt that even if houses were built in this place, no one would buy it. His purpose of buying here was really just to buy a nail. He felt that it would not be long before such a large industrial factory area was ruined here. In terms of transportation, this place was also very convenient, being close to the main city. Not far away, next to the canal. In a few years, this area will definitely be developed, and it is very likely that it will be transformed into an economic development zone like Xiaosha. If that happens, you will have the conditions to negotiate with the government, and you can ask the government to replace it with other land. Just leave it intact, give him back 120 acres in the development zone, and replace it himself. How many factories can replace it? What's more, the government will have to compensate to some extent for house demolition. Lu Ligan feels that Ben might come back by then, and this place is much more convenient than Xiaosha. Even if he keeps it, he can build it for Zhang Chen and the others in the future. The factory building is also very nice. He felt that by driving a nail here, he had secured the place. The function of the nail was the same. It would certainly be more cost-effective to buy an old nail than a new one. Mr. Lu, what does his daughter look like? There are so many people applying for the job, which one is her daughter? Fan Jiangguo asked after getting in the car. You've seen it, Lu Ligan said. Have I seen it? When? Didn't you hold someone else's photo last night and refuse to let it go? Fan Jiangguo thought for a moment and then remembered that it was the one who made the box and circle. What a dead crab, Fan Jiangguo was immediately discouraged. Thank you book friends 1611222044308843 and Lu for your monthly pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life.